Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope you are doing well. Okay. So I had I guess everyone was there yesterday, right? So we started with less attendance, but everyone joined, right? So yesterday we discussed like the contest questions. We discussed a few questions from Sim. I guess this class is named as revision, but we'll complete the last topic, that's string and buffer reader, and then we'll just solve questions that's remaining, right? That we have not discussed yet, that you wanted me to discuss. Firstly, just do that for today, and then remaining classes, if you like, whatever topics you have to revise, we'll do that, right? If we have any questions that we will not be able to cover today, that will take up tomorrow, right? So we'll try to do as many as today. I just need 1 hour to complete string builder and buffer reader. Just give me a second. Okay. Okay, let's begin. I have a lot of tabs open. So today's date is 27th, right? So let's put that date, 27th of March 2023. Okay. So let's start with buff reader, then I'll go to string builder. So let's start with buff reader. Okay. Or we can tell it as buffered reader. Okay. So what is buffered reader, or why do we have a buffer reader, or what does it mean? So basically, see, till now we saw one way to take input, that is scanner class, right? So we saw that we can use scanner class to take input, right? Now, what is scanner class? So basically, scanner class is like a library that's there, right? We import it, we take inputs using that scanner class. We can take inputs of any type. Now, is there any other way to take input? So there is actually. There are a lot of ways to take input, right? So I remember I told you one thing, that you can take input using this string args thing that you have in main method. So for example, when I explained you function, I told you that this is nothing but a function, right? This is the return type which is void. This function name is main. This takes a string array as argument. You can even change this name, right? So you can change it to any name you want, right? So this is just an array, right? So you want to change it to some other name, you run it, it works fine. The name of the variable doesn't matter, right? The name of the variable doesn't matter. It's just a variable that you can take, right? It doesn't throw any issues, doesn't throw any errors. And this was one way to take input, right? I told you, right? If you try it using compilers like BlueJ or IntelliJ. So when you run the code, right now it is just running it. It is assuming that you will not give inputs in here. But if you run the same code on BlueJ, you will see that it will show you a pop-up. Okay. Now, what does pop-up, or what does you have to do in that pop-up? So it's like a prompt where you have to enter values, right? Comma separated values, and those will be the arguments in this array, right? So we give comma separated values as an array argument, right? So for example, we give an array like this, 2, 3, 4, 8. So same way you can give a string array, right? Each value will be string. Now, if you want to convert it into anything like integer, you can do it. Why is meant by argument? Okay, I'll come to that question. Okay. So you can give any input that you will take it, and it will basically, you can use it inside code. So for example, this art argument that we have taken, we can use it like this, art of zero, like art of zero. If you want to access it, we can access this art of zero. Right now, this compiler is not giving any input. So if I run this, it is going to throw me error that this index is out of bounds, right? But if I check this length, right, if I do a dot length, it is going to tell me that this is a valid array. You can find out the length of it. you can use this variable. This is a completely usable variable over here. It is telling the length is 0. It doesn't have any values, but some compilers support it to take input. And this was the first way, right? Very naive, very primitive way in Java to take input. Java means the first way to take input was the string argument. So basically, we used to give things into this array, and we used to just give him beforehand, right? Whatever code was expecting input. So we used to give him that these are the inputs that you have, and we can use it, right? So for example, art of 0, right? Art of 1, arcs of 1, right? Now, like since this was the very first thing that was there, it is till date it is present, right? We rarely use it because we have got better things like scanner, we have got better things like buff reader. We don't use it too much, but it is still there as a part of Java that using this we can still take inputs. Okay, understood. So this is sorting topic complete. No, merge and heap is something we will learn in module 2. So like right now we'll just learn n-square sorting algorithms. So like later we'll learn about merge and heap and all the n-log n sorting algorithms. Okay. Yes, it was invented before. This was like the very first way in Java to take inputs, right? So like, what is the problem here? Does anyone see any problem over here? Okay, you run the program, you see a dialog, you give inputs, the code runs. What's the problem in here? Why do we need scanner, or why do we need anything else to take inputs? Anyone sees any error, any issues? Take strings, but strings can be converted, right? You can convert it to integer using parseInt, float, parse float, double parse double. You have inbuilt functions. Right, simple. So we have to give all the values first, right? हमें सारे values पहले बताने होंगे. Before running the code, we have to give all the values beforehand. We can't give value right while running the code. I felt okay. We need more values, so we can give a value. We cannot give values at the runtime, which scanner gives, right? Scanners allows you to take the input at runtime. So you can give an input like 4, and you can create an array of that size, and you can give 4 inputs. If you can take an input 5, you can create an array of that size, you can give that many inputs. But this doesn't allow you to take the give you the exact runtime. The input is again coming in the runtime itself when you are running the program, but all the input needs to be given at once, right? Because once you run the program, it will not ask you again that give more inputs. So it will not ask you that. You cannot modify this, right? So there were problems over here. So this was present initially worked fine. That how we'll start thinking, right? So we started thinking like we'll write a code, we'll give it inputs, user can change the input, and the code will give different result. We started thinking it, and then later we improved to our system to so that we can take more inputs, we can take different types of inputs, all those things. Okay, then we created scanner, right? Scanner was code, scanner is fine, scanner can take inputs of every data type. Now what is this buff reader? Yes, scanner can take inputs at runtime. We can have different function of taking different inputs. Now see, what is this buff reader? I'll give you an idea how do we write it. Okay, so now see, when you give inputs in this output screen, right? Input into this black state. So you basically give a list of inputs, right? You write string, you can write float, you can write double, you can write boolean, everything. But there is actually one thing that happens actually over here, that all the thing that you write over here is nothing but a character. Okay, so it doesn't know, right? The compiler or this console screen doesn't know anything about integer, float, boolean, double. It doesn't know. For it is just a character, or we call it as a stream. Okay, we call this character as stream, or when we are trying to like take input from it, we call it. So it is known as stream. When we take input, when we are trying to take input from here, we call it as input stream. Okay. And when we try to give output from here, right? When we try to give output, or when we try to write something into the screen, we call it as output stream. Okay. Okay. So this is okay. So we have, so this we call a stream. What a stream means, stream is just a bunch of characters. Console doesn't know whether those characters are representing a number, whether it is integer, whether it is float, whether it is double, whether it is boolean. What does language know, right? How language interprets this? Console doesn't know anything about it. Console simply sees it as a character. right? Now, why does it matter? Think it like a user, right? So for example, think it like a user. You are using a calculator. Okay, very simple example. You all are using calculator. We have been using it since ages. Now, does it matter to you how the like input is treated when you give input as number or decimal number or something? It doesn't matter to you, right? What matters is when you do 15 plus 5, you should see 20. Now 20 is written as a string, or 20 is written as a number, or 20 is written as a decimal number. If you are seeing 20 in the thing, or it is written as two different characters, 2 and 0, it doesn't matter to you. If you are seeing 20, what does the calculator interpret it? It doesn't matter, right? Calculator thinks it like string, calculator thinks it like character, calculator thinks it like number. We don't care, right? Same goes for a picture. Okay, now what is a picture, right? Think of like this. So I told you very much basics about programming, right? Where we evolved. So computer understands simply 0 and 1. Okay. Now, how does computer store picture? So picture, what is a picture, right? What is this video that you're seeing right here, right now? Or what is the screen that you're seeing right now? So this is nothing but a picture, right? So video is nothing but a lot of pictures put together, right? So video is nothing but like, if you put 30 pictures in 1 second, right? If you put 30 pictures in 1 second, or we call 30 frames per second or 50 frames per second, it starts looking like a video. You get the feeling of continuity because that's the number of frames our eye can capture, right? So our eye feels like it is a video, but but in reality, it is just 30 pictures in 1 second, right? The more better FPS you have, like 80 pictures per second, 90 picture per second, you get the better, like you don't see lags, you see more, you see a better streaming, right? You get a better streaming, like, yeah, just like GIF. So what is GIF? GIF is not like it is more of like 30-40 pictures put together, and it gives you the feeling that it's a video, right? Small video, right? So a frame per second, right? You might have observed in cameras, they sell that the camera is having higher frames per second, 60 frames per second, 70 frames per second. What does it mean? It can, when you record a video, it is clicking 70 pictures per second. It is clicking 60 pictures per second, right? So you will get a better, so when you view that video, it will feel like more continuous. You won't see that hanging or lagging, like you get a better quality, right? When you're connected to a better internet, the video call is better, right? When you're connected to poor internet, your video call lags. So that is again picture. Okay. So, okay. So now I told that video is picture, GIF is pictures, your image is pictures. The video that you're seeing right now is picture. The screen that you are seeing, like the shared screen that I have, that is also picture. So everything is picture. Okay. Now, how is picture represented? The computer only knows 0 and 1. So how does it know about picture? So how is the picture represented? Pixels, yes. So how is pixels represented? So what is a pixel? So pixel is nothing but, let's take very old example. Right now it has evolved. So what is a pixel? A pixel is nothing but it is a combination of RGB, basically red, green, or blue. Okay. So why do we have red, green, or blue? Because using these three colors, you can make any possible color. You want to make green, black, blue, pink, purple, violet, red, orange, magenta. All the colors you can make with this. Okay, using these three colors. So basically you are seeing different colors on the screen, which is nothing but a small portion which is red, green, or blue. Now depending on what color you want to show there, it makes the combination using red, green, and blue, and you see that color. So for example, you are seeing a white over here. What does this mean? It has made some combination of red, green, and blue, and it is creating a white dot over here. It has made some combination of red, green, and blue over here. You're seeing a blue over here. Here you're seeing green, so it has made some combination of red, green, blue. You're seeing green. Similarly, you'll see black somewhere, you'll see green, you'll be able to create all the colors. Okay. Now, how is this red, green, blue represented in computer? Again, it doesn't know anything about it. So this red, green, blue is nothing but represented in form of a code, right? So kuch aisa code hoga, right? Every color is represented in form of code, like this we call as hex code, something like this. Okay. So something like this, 6-digit code, right? Something like this. So this would represent your code. So you can just Google for any 6-digit hex code, you'll get what this color represents. Okay. Chalo, I'll show you this, right? So this is, trust me, this I'm not just going diverging the topic. This will conclude and you will be able to understand well the thing that I'm trying to explain. Okay. See. So this is what your hex code colors are, right? Now, if you go to any site, HTML color codes, right? Let's go to this one. See, so here it is basically telling this is the color code, right? So this is the amount of red, this is the amount of green, this is the amount of blue it has put, and it is able to create this color. If I vary this red, so I can vary it using this. So you'll see that the color combinations are varying, and I'm seeing a different color. If I vary this all together, it would vary the red, green, and blue combinations, and it will see. So right now it has evolved, right? It has evolved, so it support red, green, and blue, and it has like contrast, CYMK, and all the other combinations to get you more colors. Earlier in when it used to be just red, green, and blue, so we used to see less colors on the screen. We did not used to get all the kind of colors that you want. Also now you can create any tint, any shade, any kind of a particular color, right? Any particular shade, anything you want to vary. See, so on purple you have so many combinations, right? So you can create a blackish purple, you can create a very whitish purple, right? Light purple, dark. So you can create all those such things, right? You can create any other colors in this way, right? So you can basically create a combination of color, and that is nothing but this hex code. Acha. Now finally we got ki color is nothing but some hex code, right? So if you give this hex code, it will be able to figure out how much red, how much green, how much blue it has to show you on the screen on the for that particular dot, and it will be able to show you this. So and how much percentage every other thing, right? So now this hex code, now this is a number, right? So this is what this is a number in some like we understood, right? Binary, octal, hexadecimal, ऐसा कुछ समझा हमने. So this is like one of the hexadecimal number. So this is nothing but a hexadecimal number. If you look, right, so the largest value you'll see is F. The largest alphabet you'll see is F. So like that time you are asking, right, what is the use of this hexadecimal number? So this is nothing but the hexadecimal number. Can you convert a hexadecimal to binary? Remember I told you how you can convert. So this cannot be R, sorry. This will be something like A. So you remember how you can convert hexadecimal to binary? कुछ बताया था मैंने? How can you convert a hexadecimal to binary?
First convert in decimal, then binary, sir.
Yes, right. So firstly you will convert the hexadecimal to decimal, and then you can convert it to binary, right? We know this. So now see, finally, like we started with video, we broke it down into pictures. Okay, let me write it somewhere. Okay, think it like a video. So video is nothing but a lot of images put together. Okay, how is one image represented? One image is represented in form of pixels. Okay, so what is pixels? Pixels is nothing but a combination of red, green, and blue, right? So what is red, green, and blue? How do so computer doesn't understand colors, but computer understands code. So your display is having red, green, and blue. You just have to tell how much percentage of red, how much percentage of green, how much percentage of blue, and it will accordingly generate the color that you want to show on the screen, right? So you will see. So like red, green, and blue for like finally breaks down to hex code. So you have hex code. Now hex code is nothing but hexadecimal value, so it can get converted into binary. Right. So finally you get binary, your video is converted to binary, your video is nothing but a binary data, right? So you have so many layers. Now you might have seen, right, the televisions having more pixels, you get better vision, right? The mobile phones are which has more pixels into it, right? More finer pixels, you'll be able to see the videos are more finer, right? You because each dot, each particular thing doesn't split, right? The pixels doesn't overlap, so your frames are very smooth, right? You see more like better quality thing. So for example, the screen that I am sharing right now is a 4K screen, right? So display is very fine over here, right? So you would be able to observe even minute colors on the screen because this is a 4K display which has a very fine pixel density. Okay, and that is the only plus point of this laptop, nothing else. Okay, so yeah, okay. So see, now this is how your video is, and finally it is a binary data. Acha. Now I'll so this is how your video is, and this is like how your video works or your stream works. Now think it like, so I broke down this thing into binary. Okay. Now this thing is again like data that we can use in code, right? We know binary things in code. We have dealt with binary things. We can convert with numbers. We can do like a logic on numbers like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, all those things we can do. Similarly, we can manipulate videos as well, all those things, right? So all the softwares of Adobe that you have, Photoshop, all those things that are doing the same thing. Now coming back to this stream is similarly nothing but a string. Now string can be similarly used to represent each type of data type. So for example, tell me one data type you cannot represent using string. Is there any data type that you cannot represent using string? You can represent a number using string. You can represent a float. You can represent a double. You can represent a character. You can represent a boolean. So basically, any data type you can represent using string. Right? So string is a very fundamental data type. So what does this buffer reader say? do one thing. Okay. So we will take input using something known as input stream reader. Okay. Buffered reader gives us an advantage. Like this is an input stream reader. So this is what is input stream reader. So input stream reader is again basically taking okay. This is like I'm creating a variable of input stream reader type. Let's see how is it similar to like scanner that we have already created. So in scanner wala type, we created scanner sc is equals to new scanner system.in. Anything matching over here system.in. What was system.in? What does this mean? I told you, right? System.in means something, system.out means something.
Taking input from keyboard, sir.
Taking input from this console, basically, right? However, user is giving input into this console, we will be taking input from that, right? So we are taking input. Now this will take input as a form of stream. Now, which stream? Input stream. So input stream is nothing but a string, like a string, right? Or you can think it like a series of characters. Okay, a series of characters is nothing but a string. It will take input in form of a string. Okay. Now, what is buffered reader? So let's call it as BR variable is equals to new buffered reader ISR. We'll pass it that input stream reader object, that this is the stream input that we have taken. Now, what buffered reader can do is buffered reader can parse this input to the okay, sorry. Buffered reader can parse this input to any data type. Right? So we can use buffered reader, take input and pass it into data. So for example, let's say I want. Yeah. So what we can do is yeah, see. Okay, see. So let's take a string input. Okay, see, let's take a string input. Let's call it as br dot next line. Remember next line को store होता था. I've not taken that. So this is a part of library known as import java.io. Right, you can write input stream reader, or you can write import java.io.star. Okay, so this is a library that is specifically for taking input output. I'll tell you what how it differs from util just a second. Okay, let's try to let's try to firstly see how it is different. Okay, how it is how it literally a little bit differs. Okay, so let's just that we are what's the name of the method? Br.next line. I remember it is br.next line. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. Yeah, sorry for that. Okay, I guess it is not next line, it is read line. Yes. Now if I run this read line here, so what is it then? Read line here, I guess. It is fine. Oh, I guess ठीक. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine, right? We just have not captured that exception. Okay. This is fine. We have to actually capture one exception that this would throw input output exception. Okay, I'll tell you when this would throw and what is this exception all about. Like this is there in very detail what is exception and what those things happen. Okay. I'll explain this. Just let's first check this. Okay. I'll come back to explain the IO and exception, these two, like the library and this part. Okay. Let's first check this one. Okay. So what we did, firstly, we took a like variable similar to like how we take scanner, right? So this is using system.in, we are taking input in using system.in, and this is basically reading it. Now, difference is it doesn't know anything about it. Input can be anything, it just knows that whatever input would be given, I will take it as a stream. What is a stream? Stream is nothing but a series of characters, or you can think it like string. Okay. So what is a stream? Stream is nothing but series of characters. So for example, let's say I give it as this is a book. So it will take this input and put it into the variable s. So what is stream? Stream is nothing but a series of characters. Okay. So what we are doing is see, I'll tell you, I'll summarize these two things. So what is input stream doing? Input stream is basically taking all the input that you're writing into this as a series of characters. It doesn't know that character represent a number. That character represents a like that character represents an alphabet, word, string, float, boolean, anything. It doesn't know anything. It just takes it as a character. Okay, because all the other data types can be created from character. So it is just treating it as a character. Now, what is buffered reader doing? So buffered reader, we are telling that how we want to take the stream, right? Do we want to take the stream as a line? So do we want the entire line of the stream? Do we want to take, if we run read, so it will just take one single character, right? So it is telling, see, so it is taking one single int, right? If you just do read operation, it is just reading one integer from it. Okay, if I do read line, it reads an entire line, which is a string. Okay, if I do read, it will just try to read one single integer character from it. Right. So there are few functions that are available on buffered on how we want to take this input stream. So input string of characters are input series of characters that we are getting. How we try to how we want to take it. Do we want to take it as a single line? So this is just a variable. ISR and BR. This is just a variable. You can give any names to this variable. Until it follows the variable naming rules, it's going to be fine. Okay, books. Okay, let's try to print this string. Okay, system.out.println s. So let's try to read a book. Okay, see. So now it is taking that input, it is putting it into the string variable, and we are printing it as well. That's fine, right? If we want to read multiple streams, right? So for example, stream is so see, string is basically a data type thing, right? String we call as a data type. So whenever I say stream and whenever I say string, what is the difference? So see, both are same, just a string is also a series of characters, stream is also a series of characters. Stream means something which is coming from somewhere, like from something that is coming from console. So for example, I guess you see, this is something that you have ever like for sure heard, that we are streaming the match live today on Hotstar. Yes, term suna hai? Have you heard this sentence? We are streaming live on Hotstar. We are streaming live on Jio. We are streaming live on YouTube. Right? So everyone uses this term, right? There is a live stream that is going on. What is the stream that they mean? Stream ka matlab kya hota hai? That they are giving continuously inputs, updates, that something is happening in continuity. Yes. Now here also we are telling the stream means that we are taking the input in continuity in form of a series of characters. Right. So when I say stream, it is coming, right? The input is coming from somewhere. It means that series of characters is coming from somewhere to our place, right? How it is different from scanner, I'll come to that question, right? I'll need some time to, let's first understand this, and I'll explain how this is why this is existing, right? If we have scanner, what are the uses of this, right? Now, can we so basically this reads, so I told you few things about this on here, right? So what is input stream reader? Takes a stream. So what is stream? Series of characters, first thing. So it treats everything as a character. So whatever you're getting from input stream, no matter you take one character from it, no matter you take like the entire line using BR buffered reader dot read line, or then give me some other ways you can read it, right? So like you're reading a character, you're reading 5 characters, you're reading 100 characters, you're reading the entire line, or you're reading a paragraph. Okay. Or you are trying to read an image image input, or you're trying to read a video input. No matter whatever trying to read, you have functions for that, right? You buffer reader can read it in the particular way you want, but everything is going to be read as character. What if I want to read a number, right? How can I read a number from this? So if I do this read line, this is going to give me string. Is there any way to convert a string to integer? Yes. So we can use integer dot parseInt. What this can, remember what does this function do? This function converts anything into integer, any string into integer specifically, right? So we can do parseInt, and this will convert this input stream that we are taking into integer. Now see, what is happening over here? This is different of how it works in scanner, right? The working is different. You still see the same input that is getting over here. Now, how does it vary? In case of scanner, when we were writing this number, this was taken as a number input. sc.nextInt, it was trying to read it as a number, right? It was thinking that this is a number and it will try to read it as number. If it fails, it will say that, okay, we failed to read this as number. That was a runtime error. There you used to see runtime error. Okay, let me write it down. In case of scanner, when you try to read integer, okay, and you scanner के case में, when you try to read an integer, and what was going to happen, you were actually trying to read, we were trying to read the input as a number, as an integer number. Okay. And if anything goes wrong, what would happen if I try to give something, some error or some like string or something? So what would happen if I try to do this? So it would give a runtime error, right? Runtime error aata tha. We used to see runtime error. What was the error? Fail to convert, right? Input mismatch type error, right? Input mismatch exception, fail to convert a string to integer, something like that, right? Acha. So that was like a runtime error. Usko error bolte hain. That there was an error that happened. We were not able to convert. Now, what is the thing that would go wrong over here? So now what we are doing is we are taking the input as string. So input may we are trying to still read it as string. We are not trying to read it as a number. Take it. See, difference is here. Earlier we are trying to read the input as an integer number. Now, in case of buffered reader, when we try to do this, we are not trying to read the input as an integer number. We are trying to read the input as a string, okay, or a stream of characters. Okay, stream of character would be the correct word. So we are trying to read the input as a stream of characters, as a stream or a series of character, right? Now, after we have read this input, right? After we have read this input using br.readline, after we like used, so if ISR is going to give us this input. We are telling how much input we want to read using this buffer reader, whether we want to read the entire line, whether we want to read one character from it, whether we want to read 100 characters or 50 characters, that this BR buffer reader is going to tell. Right now we are telling read the entire line. So how many numbers of characters we would have given, it will read it. Now we are trying to convert that character into integer. Now, if this thing fails, right, string to integer conversion fails, we would get an exception. We might get an exception because here we are trying to convert a string to, if we read it as string, there it was fine. Now this %, is failing, right? This % is failing, and there the input taking itself was failing. We were not able to take input because we were expecting an integer, it was giving string. Right now, no matter what it gives, we are expecting string, so we would be able to take that, right, input. Now this would throw an exception if we try to give it something like that, right? This integer dot, so here the failure would be integer dot %, not the input. Input would still work fine. So for example, let's say I give it as Ritik. Okay, see, so we get a number format exception, we get an exception, the input for input string, right? This is the, so we got the input as string, which is fine. Now what are the exception? Number format exception, we cannot convert this input string to integer, right? So this function failed. Integer dot %, this was the function that failed, right? Input taking did not fail, input taken succeeded, but the conversion fails, and which was the part of this line, right? This line, this function failed, right? The input taking was success. Understood? How does it differ? Now, why do we have this, right? If we had scanner which was working fine, coming back to that question, if scanner was working so fine, we had scanner, it was so good. Why have we created such a complex thing? We take characters as input, we try to read the number of characters, specify it using buffer reader, how many characters we want, and then we convert, right? Now we have ways to convert. So for example, you want to take Boolean input. We have like Boolean dot parse Boolean, right? So you can convert any input using Boolean dot parse Boolean. You can do br dot next line. So sorry, read line. It will convert that input to Boolean. That you can do double D is equals to double dot parse double. You have basically parse double, parse float, parse Boolean, parse long. So all the functions are there. You can basically convert to any data type. Okay. Now, yes, same kind of error handling that we do in cases where it is thrown as exception. So that's why Now because of this working, right? Because of this behavior, we write this, right? So this 5 we are writing throws IO exception because we have used input stream reader, buffer reader. Now this might throw an IO exception, which is basically an exception like we were succeeded in taking input, but what if the input format is something different? We might fail into taking input as well. So there might be some input related issues that might come up. Earlier there was like scanner was doing everything, scanner was handling everything. There might be just conversion issue that can happen. That is a runtime error, right? But here there might be exceptions. So exceptions are kind of errors, right? Exceptions are kind of error, but just that error is like something which I'd say key you cannot predict, right? Error is something you cannot predict. It is happening because of some user input or something. Exception is something which we know that this can happen, right? Exception is something which we are predicting that this can happen or this will happen, right? If this operation fails, so this is going to happen. So that is a known scenario, known error. So you can think it like in for now, exception is like a known error that is going to happen. You can think it in this way. Okay. So, okay, I'll write it over here. So what is an exception? Exception is similar. You can just think it as the simplest definition I can give you is a known error. Okay. So we know that if we try to do this operation, this thing might go wrong. Okay. So if we try to convert we take a string and we try to convert it into integer, it is going to work fine. But if the input is not representing a number, it will go wrong. So it is for sure guaranteed that this is going to throw exception. This is going to give an error. Okay, so that kind of error is known as exception. We call it as exception, right? Now there is like ways to handle these exceptions. Now, basically, if you know the error, you can handle it, right? What is error handling mean? You will have a detailed way to understand how to handle errors, how to handle exception. I'll give you just a simple idea. Okay. So what happens when you do something on a site and something goes wrong? You see a message, right? That something went wrong, right? We are unable to read this. We are unable to give you the result, right now. Please try after some time. Your payment has failed. Please fetch. So if they show you like error 405 occurred and like the server not responding, error 405 occurred, database fetch to this particular thing failed. Will that make any sense to you as a user? What happened in the background? If I show this thing to you, a number format exception, the integer percent is failing. You would see why am I seeing this? What does this mean, right? What is this? I don't know anything about integer character. What is this thing, right? So that users will not be able to know, right? So for user, in case of exception, we write messages. We write messages that if this kind of exception occurs, tell the user this. And this kind of exception occurs, tell the user this, right? So we show a message to the user that user can know or user can understand. Right? Simple message that you are trying to input a string, you should give it a number, right? So instead of showing this, we can show that give input as a number. Please do not input a string or something like that. So that will make sense, right? So user can, so this wants a number, right? So for example, in case of mobile number input, right? So if user gives a character as something like that, they see error, right? Please input your mobile number as numbers. It cannot be, your mobile number cannot contain character, something like that. Right? It doesn't tell you like number format exception, right? If tomorrow, let's say you are filling a form and the form shows your number format exception, will that make any sense to you? When I got the error at the end of Google Calibase, I cannot understand about the error. Okay. Like in password, it can contain all type of cases like uppercase, yes. So okay, so that is what an exception is. Got the idea what is an exception? Don't worry, you'll have it very detailed way or in when you'll like work on the front end back end. You'll have try, catch, finally all those different ways to handle exceptions. How you can use your custom message. How do we handle it in softwares, right? So there are known issues that happen. So how do we handle it? And so, okay, okay, understood. So in just input stream reader, buffer reader is just another way of taking input. Just that how it takes input is different fundamentally from scanner. Okay. Now, why do we have it? That is one question I'm yet to address. But firstly, tell me, understood this entire thing? Any doubts over here? Anything that you have to ask? No doubts? Okay, anyone? Okay. So, okay, to summarize, we have stream of characters. we are taking it as stream of characters. We call it as stream, right? Stream is nothing but a series of characters. Okay, so we call this as stream because it is coming from someone else, some place, right? So it can be coming from a console. Can we take an input? Acha, can your input be from something else, not from console? Acha, think of actual software. Okay, can your input be not from console but from somewhere else? What can be your input forms? So how do you give input? Think about, tell me 2-3 ways how you can give input to your mouse click, webcams. Okay, what can be other thing? Form is again you're typing something, right? So okay, that can be again one form. So you have so many things, right? Joysticks, you have voice, you have video, you have audio, you have mic, right? You might have a writing pen, you might have a touchpad, you might have screen touch, right? So screen touch is another form of input. So all those different form of inputs, your inputs can be very different, right? सिर्फ यहाँ से नहीं होगा input कि it can be just in a console and we are reading it. Your stream of input or series of characters can come from different places. Right. So for example, your touch is basically a series of characters. So the touch is a stream of input. Your video is a stream of input. Your audio is a stream of input. That's why every time it is referred as live stream, video stream, audio stream. Spotify does podcast. What is podcast? Podcast is nothing but audio stream. You are seeing a series of audios getting played to you. YouTube live is nothing but a video stream. You're seeing a video that is continuously coming to your device and you can view it, right? Your Netflix streaming, you're watching a series on Netflix, that is a video stream that you are seeing, right? So that is how you can define it. Okay, what is a stream? So stream basically is a series of character over here, but stream is a general term for any continuity of information. It can be in form of audio, video, touch, mouse click, hover, touchpad, so many things, right? Video and a number of things. Now ठीक है. Now does buffer reader, now biggest question, does buffer reader has capability of reading anything apart from this data types, or it does has only the capability to read this? So actually it can read files. So buffer reader has the capability of reading files. So if you have a text file, if you have an Excel file, if you have a Word file, the buffer reader can be used to read input from that file. Okay. Now, can the buffer? Yes, it can read even from PPT. It can read it from different file formats as well. So buffer reader has the capability to read input from different files. Okay, so you can read inputs from files. Now think, scanner was just reading from this console. It did not have. So let's say tomorrow I ask you to read, I give you a file and I tell you that this is the input file. You have to read through this file and you have to basically show the information to the user. It cannot do it using scanner, but you can do it using buffer. So it can read input from a file. Now think it like this. Acha, when you download a video, what it is, what the downloaded video or what the downloaded image to you it is. So it is a video file, it is an audio file, it is a file to you, right? When you download a PDF, it is a PDF file. It is a file format, it is just a file. Now, can the buffer reader read all these different kind of files? Yes, it can. The buffer reader reads files. It is an example of how you can read inputs from different places, not just this console. So it can read inputs from file. So I'll show you something instead of just giving on this. Buffer reader. See. See, so input stream reader was reading through, was giving you stream from the console. Now see, file reader can give you the stream from a particular file. Okay. So see this example. What we have done over here is we have taken a file reader. Okay. So what does file reader is going to give you? We have given a text file, simple file as input. A text file is going to give you text characters in continuity. Okay. Now what we can do is buffer reader can basically read this inputs from the file as a stream of characters. Right? Until we are getting the stream, we are trying to read those characters. Once we are done with reading, we can close that stream of buffer reader and we can close the stream of file. Right? It can be used to take like input stream reader. We understood that we can use it to take input from the console. Right? So we have like n number of ways we can have input stream reader again used in some different way. taking string input, right? So so you can it has like it supports things like file reader, which can take different files. It's not just text file. You can give it a PDF or you can give it XLS. So file reader, it supports that capability. Or if you might have a different library similar to file reader, which will have the capability to read video or images. And stream reader, using buffer reader, we can specify how much video we want to read, how much image we want to read, how much audio we want to read, right? So that is the amount of information we get. Okay, understood. So it is more of like scanner was very small. Scanner was just a start key how you can take input, but you won't be always restricted to taking input like numbers, text, boolean, any over. Your input will be increasing, right? Video, audio, images, touch, like writing pen, right? So drawing input, right? So which would be touchpad. So your inputs would vary, and buffer reader is capable of handling those input, and it handles it in a stream of characters. Now, ultimately, I showed you everything's break down to binary. So this series of characters is also going to break down to binary. So there is a way to, everything is related to binary at the end, and it would like stream would be basically again a binary or something. Okay. Industry application, everything, like every software that you use or has some application of buffer reader, right? For example, Zoom right now. So the video that you're seeing is, the video is getting a stream of inputs from my system. So my system is the input source. Okay. So my system, it is taking from my camera, it is reading the video as a stream of input, and it is showing to you on your screen as a stream of output, right? So your screen is the output screen and my camera is the input source, right? So my system is the input source. So Zoom. So this is like a idea of it. There might be very advanced, right? So will buffer reader be able to Zoom will use buffer reader, and can Zoom be created just by using buffer reader, or do we need advanced thing? So video streaming, it is similar concept. So similar, that the concept is similar, just that it would be a more capable library if buffer reader is not able to do it. So we'll create a more capable library than this. Understood? Can we do that for image now? I will not do it. Like you will do. So this, like I'm running on online GTV. This doesn't have too much capability, right? So you don't worry. You'll have like very detailed session from reading through files and writing into files. That is there in your development, right? So when you learn that front end, back end development, this part is there, reading and writing through files. So you will be understanding of how you can read, and the concept is same. Right, so every language, the same concept follows, right? You read from a file or anything as a stream of input, and you write it in a stream of output. So I'll give you a simple example that you all can relate to. Okay, so that will summarize all the entire story for you. Everyone watches match, cricket match, Hotstar. Everyone uses it, right? So what does Hotstar do? Okay, so there are tons of cameras that they have set up in the stadium. So camera is the source of input. So that is input stream reader. Think it like that, right? Input stream reader, file reader, it is taking the input. Now buffered reader is, let's say, trying to analyze it, keep how much input we want, right? In 1 second we want to show let's say 1 second we want to show 30 frames. It will say 30 frames ka input let's take, and let's give to the user every second. I'll keep on pushing to the user. If it is streaming 30 frames every second, I'll keep on giving it. Okay, if the user stops streaming, if the user clicks on pause, I'll stop sending him frames. If the user clicks on play again, I'll start sending him 30 frames per second, right? When you do a download, when you download a file, what happens? So you start getting the files, small pieces of the file, right? You don't get the entire file at once, right? You can't, because we don't have that capability. What happens is your files, data, whatever is there, a similar format file is created in your system, and the data is read from other file, and it is start getting written into the file that is in your system. So for example, let's say there is 1 GB file. Okay. So, and you are running with the internet speed that is taking, let's say, 100 KB per second, or let's say 100 KB per second, or 1 MB per second. So what would happen is, so 1 GB file would be read 1 MB per second. Okay, in this speed. And this is the input stream. Okay, and the output stream, where is the output stream? So your file, there would be a similar file that would be created in your system, and you would see a output stream that is writing with the same speed 1 MB per second into the file in your system. Finally, all the content that is there in that file will be written into your file. And let's say it is of MP4 format. So when you click it, operating system knows, okay, this is a video, let me play it. So the video player will interpret it as a video. If it is the image, So operating system, so this is the image, right? JPG, PNG, all these are images. So let me open it in the image editor. I'll give all this input to image software. Image will try to understand how it wants to show this JPG, PNG or something. Understood? So this is how streaming works. It has a tons of applications, like every software that you use, video playback, live streaming, audio streaming, your continuous input, right? Wherever user is giving chat, right? Your chat is also a continuous input. When you're chatting, two people are chatting together, that is a continuous input. So that is also again another form. This. Understood? Yes, no doubts.
Hello.
Yes, say.
Like I have a doubt. Like we are passing a system dot in as a like object, right? Like parameter or argument to input stream reader class, right? So what this input stream reader class will do? I mean, system dot in we are taking input, and what do it like? Do it
So
convert to
input stream reader is basically see. So input stream reader, you can think it like it is telling that we have specified to the input stream reader that the input is coming from system.in, which is this console. Okay. So input stream reader, let's say, might somewhat also an input that is not coming from console, but coming from some other input form, right? So for example, it can come from directly from mouse. Okay. So system.in allows to take input from this console from keyboard. It might, let's say, support something like mouse.in, using which we can, like, wherever we click or whatever action we perform a drag or we perform a draw using mouse, it can take that draw action. Okay, now we'll get that action when we can try to read that action using buffer reader. How much information we want to read in one go, that how we want to take it. So buffer reader is like how we want to take input, so how much input we want to take, and input stream reader is how we want to take input, from where the input is going to come. Okay, and that's how these two things are. So buffer reader is going to be fixed, right? So buffer reader might take input from stream reader, input stream reader. It might take input from file reader. It might take input from video reader. It might take input from image reader. It might take input from, let's say, character reader or something. Okay, so this reader would vary, right? Reader would basically is responsible of how the input is going to come, right? From where it is going to come. Buffer reader is responsible for how much input we want to take from that. Understood?
So it is like, okay, then buffer reader will be converting that input object ISR into string finally.
Yes. And it is getting that into string, and now this thing is like a string, and now we can parse it to anything, right? String. So for example, here it is telling, it is giving string. So br.readline is basically telling any input from string, and we can pass it to integer, float, boolean, double, or something. How parse works and IO exception. So parse is basically converting any string to the given data type. So for example, we are trying to pass string into integer, string into boolean, or string into double. Okay. Now if the parse goes successful, that's fine, right? But parse might fail. When parse would fail, the parse would fail if you are trying to parse something into integer, input has characters, right? Like A, B, C, D, or alphabets or something, or special characters. So it would fail. So in that scenario, we'll get something like exception. Now, what is exception? How does it differ from a runtime error? So exception is like a known error. Like you can simply tell it as a known error. We know that this thing will happen. Okay, we for sure know. So when you know that an error would happen, and this is the kind of error, the IO exception or input mismatch exception, that you know the name of the error. So what you can do is you can store information. For example, when let's say input mismatch exception happens, so you can say to the user that you are entering a wrong type input, right? It should be integer, it should be number or something. That would make sense to user. Well, let's say something, some error happens like cannot convert this large number to integer, right? So this input was really large and we could not convert, right? It was a valid number, but integer cannot store this large number. So for example, let's say, let's take this input. Okay. Let's take this input and try to print A. And let's try to give it a very large number. Okay. So this is something which integer cannot hold, right? See, so now this is a valid input, but the error is like we cannot convert it, right? Input string and there is something. So this in a parsent field, right? We said number format exception. It is not input output exception, something like some different exception. So we might handle it in a different way. कि अगर ऐसा कुछ होता है, it is a valid integer, but we fail to convert it. So we might sort something different or something like that.
Got it. Like, are there any like system.in, as you said that we can use that to read from keyboard. So do we have any like system.in? Do we have any other things like that? So we can do read it from mouse, like replacing system.in.
For example, mouse is there, camera is there, audio is there. So we have input from every places, right? So basically, we can have input from mouse, camera, audio, and all those things. So that is something like which is core software engineering. So similar concept, right? Your concept is similar. For example, let's say tomorrow I tell you to take input from camera. Okay, you can just Google up. Okay, so let's try to do this together. How can we solve this problem? So take camera, video as input, Java. Okay. So now if we do this, Java will tell, okay, so how can we capture? So there is something like there is a solution over here. Now the logic is same, right? Logic is going to be same. It is going to give you a stream of input, just that the code would be different, right? So there is a webcam capture, something like someone has created which makes it easy. So this is a code that someone has created. This is something which we can use. Okay, so this is basically telling how we can use it. There might be a snippet of it. Let's see, right, how it looks. So there's a okay, see. So it is telling that webcam.open. This will open the webcam. So image.io.write webcam.getImage. So this is a PNG file, and this is we are storing it in this particular file. So it is getting an input PNG from this webcam. So we same way we opened a webcam, we opened a stream of input. We wrote this into a particular file which we created as hello world.png. Now, if you want to not create an image, if you want to create a like take a video input, if you want to do something, so there will be similar examples of how we can take input. Same it see, it has like it is also how we can set drivers. So there is a lot of challenges that you will say when you deal with hardware, right? So there can be multiple cameras that is connected with it. Do our software have the permission to use camera? Right? So you need to give permissions to the softwares to use camera, right? If the user has not given us permission, what we'll do in that situation? So this will fail, right? This function would fail when we try to do this operation like get input or get image. So because camera or webcam.open, this will fail because we don't have permission to access the camera. So we need to write that, okay, give us the permission to open camera in your Android app, right? For example, if you have not given the permission to open camera to a particular app, the app shows you, right? Allow us to use the camera. And then when you allow, then it is able to access your camera and such things, right? Yes. So this is like the development process, but the logic remains same. See, so get stream driver, right? It is telling how from which driver how we want to get this input, and all the different thing. Concept is same, right? Video ho jaye, audio ho jaye, file ho jaye, right? Any other, the input format is changing, but the logic is remaining same. Okay, there might be tons of 100 such libraries that is used. Okay, which like does this work? Now depending on from company to company, they might be using different. Most of the times we don't even know what a particular company is using, but the concept wise it is same. See, one thing we say is frameworks come and go, libraries come and go, right? Languages even come and go. Okay, so in software engineering, the frameworks will change, the libraries will change, the like languages itself will change, right, over years. But one thing that is not going to change is these concepts, right? If there is any new concept that is created or there is new improvisation that we will learn, right? But these concepts are fundamental. This is not going to change. How we are taking input, this is going to be same across every language, just that we might have a different library, might have a different framework, we might have some different language doing it, but concept wise same. If we are reading a string of input, we are interpreting it as a string number, or we are trying to read it like a video or a audio. What is library? So this input stream reader, buffer reader, these things we call as libraries. So this logic we have not written, right? We did not write. So we are getting, so library is some code that Java is giving us or any language is giving us. Or
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
सर इनपुट स्ट्रीम रीडर से तो हम सर इनपुट ले रहे हैं, कहीं से भी ले सकते हैं, ऑडियो वीडियो कहीं से, लेकिन सर बफर रीडर का काम क्या है?
तो बफर रीडर हम क्वांटिफाई कर रहे हैं कि कितना इनपुट चाहिए,
मतलब अमाउंट मेनली सर अमाउंट के लिए है बफर
अमाउंट के लिए, राइट। सो इनपुट स्ट्रीम रीडर से हमने बताया कि कहाँ से इनपुट लेना है और वो स्ट्रीम में इनपुट लेगा, राइट। इट विल टेक की एक स्ट्रिंग ऑफ कैरेक्टर लेगा। बफर रीडर बताया कितना इनपुट लेना है, एक लाइन रीड करना है, एक कैरेक्टर रीड करना है, ठीक है। उस इनपुट या फिर फाइल से जो अगर हम रीड करें तो उस फाइल में कितने कैरेक्टर्स रीड करने हैं, जब फाइल खत्म हो जाएगी तब क्या करना है। तो वो सारी चीजें बफर रीडर हैंडल करेगा, कितना रीड करना है और कब क्या करना है। अगर वो फाइल में हमें एंड ऑफ फाइल मिल गया, ठीक है। सो एंड ऑफ फाइल इज अ कॉमन कैरेक्टर जो बताता है कि बेसिकली फाइल एंड हो गया। ओके
ओके सर,
ठीक है। ठीक है। In scanner, if we give file in place of system.in, will it work? In scanner, if we, अच्छा scanner में I am doubtful. See, I'll tell you one more thing. ठीक है, I'll summarize everything. So one last thing I'll tell you, and then I'll summarize everything. ठीक है, ठीक है. So what's the last thing? See, देखो, scanner was a part of util, and this is a part of input output. ठीक है, these are two different things that we have in Java, right? One was util, one was input output. So utility का मतलब क्या होता है? Tell me what is the meaning of utility? Have you ever heard the term utility? Utility का what does it mean? Helper, right? Something that helps us. A common thing that can be used by someone, right? So extra function that help us, right? Utility. So for example, reusable, a small difference. But as IO means, IO means like dedicated thing for input output. So scanner was just like a get around, it was like a helper to take input. It is not dedicated to handle all input output scenario. वो उतना powerful नहीं है, right? It is not that powerful. It can handle all the input output, mouse, touch, audio, video. It is not that capable. Input output, what is this library? This is more capable library, right? This is basically something which is taking like input from camera, from file, from stream on so. So let me show you one more thing, right? So we opened this thing, right? We opened this webcam.capture. So this is the entire code of it, right? So it is like the entire code of it, that how it takes input. Now if we open things like, let's say, drivers. So I don't know what it is, what language it is written on. So it might be written in something that some language that we don't even know. Let's check. Okay, so let's see this main. So this is written in Java, I guess. See, so this is a Java code. So how it is taking input? See, so okay, so see, it is taking input java.io.file. Okay, input java.util.arraylist hash map. So this is a pure Java code of how it is taking input from. Let's say this is GStream device like webcams, right? Implements webcams or something input, and this is like a pure Java code, right? If you go through it, see, it is a pure Java code. If else something that we know, right? We have used a new keyword, right? A lot of things we have learned, right? Similar thing you can see. This is a function, right? So we see this function void int init num by function, right? So there is an array. This is marked as null. There is a final variable. Final variables remain constant variables. Integer I, right? It has taken integer variable, right? There is a map or something. We are doing a loop if through it, right? So there is a pure Java logic, right? That it has written ki what it will do when and so on. So it has basically created. So now basically, if you want to take a camera input, you don't have to go into very depth the Java to write how you will take that input, how you will interpret it, all those things that this library has done. So you just have to tell it, I want to take this input, this much amount, 5 seconds of video. Okay, so it will run the entire Java logic in the background and it will give you. So this saves your time as a developer, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, this is the same code that we are like trying to think, right? How? So right now we are thinking granular. This is more of like something that has done the granular work, and it has given us a function that if you want to take input, use this function to take input. You don't need to write into that granular level. This package is going to have a lot of class and objects and so on. Okay, but you see, ultimately you can read through this code, right? So when you will have, see, this is having loops and something which you know, right? So you can understand it. Someone has written, right? Makes sense, right? So some code someone has written, it would make sense. It is basically meaning something, right? Okay, understood? Clear? What the idea? Okay, so this is like advanced input. You learn it in a lot of ways to take inputs and all those things. This is just to give you idea. Right now you can use scanner, that's fine. But this is to give you idea that scanner is not the only input. You have your input possibilities are unlimited and it can be from different devices. Scanner was just a beginning, and you have ways to get complicated input and do things. Which is the best to take input? Right now, you can use scanner, simplest, right? You don't need to take video, audio, all those things. Scanner and util both are libraries. Yes, both are libraries. Okay. So what is a library? I got a question. So basically, any piece of code that we are not writing, but we are getting a functionality like input stream reader, buffer reader. We do not write what does this mean. We got that functionality. So this is a library. Right? Some capability that we are getting without writing. Java has given us something so that we can start coding, right? We won't be writing how we will read input from this, right? That is like, if I start doing that, then you will say, sir, right? So tell us something simple that we can write in coding, right? So that's what library does. Throws, throwable, and throws exception. Throws, throwable is basically, exception is like the known error. Throwable is basically any, what I would say is, so it is a combination of exceptions, errors, or any kind of unknown scenario that can happen while running the code. So that is a throwable thing. Okay. So exception is a known error, and throwable is a generic thing for exceptions, errors, or any kind of unknown scenarios that might go ahead in the code. Can we give our own define exception instead of exception? We can create custom exceptions as well. Okay. So I'll not go in very depth. So let me summarize. Okay. See, for simplicity, if you do not get too much of this was too much information. Few things that you can note from here. I'll put it into 2-3 points. First thing, this is just another way to take input. For now, this only matters. Okay, just another way of taking an input. Why do we have another way? Scanner was working fine. So this has more capabilities than scanner. Scanner cannot take the inputs from files, input from cameras, or input from this. But using this, you can take input. Okay, so that is capabilities. Do we need them? Do we need to read file input? Do we need to read camera or mouse input right now? No, right now you don't need to do it. You will do it when you learn about like the software development in your later phases, front end, back end development. There you might need to take input from camera. You might need to take input, read a like stream a video or read an image or something like that. So there you might feel concept wise it is going to remain same no matter whatever language, whatever library, or whatever you are using. Okay, how does this work? Third and most important question. So whatever stream is basically nothing but a series of characters. You tell that I will take a series of character from this system.in. Now you try to interpret however you want to interpret that characters. Okay. So buffer reader is telling how much in character we want. Do we want a single line? You want a single character? You want 5 characters, 10 characters? Tell me. So I'm telling buffer reader that give me one line of character, whatever it is, right? It can be 10, 50, 100. How many characters it is? I take it. So we can store it in string because this takes this as a string. This reads as a string. Now, if it is reads as string, how can we take other data type input? So we can parse them using this parse-in function. That's it. So we read string, we parse it to whatever data type we want. If anything goes wrong, we see exceptions. If everything works fine, that's fine. Okay, understood? Yes, no doubts? So throw concept is not clear. So throw is basically kind of a known error. Okay? Throw is basically we are telling in advance to the language that there might be some exceptions when this exception is a known error. Okay? So this is a known error. So when this known error will occur, when this function fails, parse-int fails, parse boolean fails, all these fails, she'll get a known error. Okay? So that is an exception. Okay, and we are basically telling the compiler in advance that we might get some error. Is there any way to so right now, even if we are seeing throws exception, we are seeing this error in input. How does it change? So basically we can handle them. If something is throwing an exception, we want to override, let's say we want to show a prompt to the user in case of some exception like conversion failed. You are giving a string input instead of number. Some language that will make sense to user instead of showing this, which might not make any sense to the common user. यूजर के लिए इसका क्या मतलब है? अगर मैं यूजर को ये शो करूं, कोई मतलब नहीं है, राइट? तो यूजर को चाहिए ऐसा चीज, एक सिंगल लाइन ऑफ टेक्स्ट दैट विल मेक सेंस टू हिम. सो दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच वी कैन शो इन केस ऑफ एक्सेप्शन.
मतलब सर हमें पता होगा कि एक्सेप्शन एरर आ सकता है.
हाँ, हमें पता है एक्सेप्शन आ सकता है, क्या आ सकता है और किस सिनेरियो में हम क्या शो करना चाहते हैं यूजर को, वो हम जानते होंगे। और हम यूजर को कुछ और दिखाएंगे, यूजर को एक्सेप्शन नहीं दिखाएंगे। जब भी वो होता है उस तरीके का कुछ एक्सेप्शन, मान लो लेट्स से सिंपल एग्जांपल, यू आर ट्राइंग टू यूजर के लिए फॉर्म क्रिएट करा हमने, ठीक है, एंड वी आर आस्किंग द यूजर मोबाइल फोन नंबर, इंस्टेड ऑफ मोबाइल फोन नंबर यूजर एंटर्ड ABCDXYZ समथिंग, so we try to store it in number, integer variable or long variable, it failed. So like we tried to treat it as integer.parseInt or long.parseLong, so it failed. ठीक है, अब
मतलब
क्यों?
सर पार्सिंग तो सर कैरेक्टर को कन्वर्ट नहीं कर सकता।
हाँ, नहीं कर सकता, लॉन्ग भी नहीं कर पाएगा अगर ABCD इनपुट रहेगा तो। सो विल गेट एक्सेप्शन लाइक दिस। ठीक है, नाउ वी हैव टू चॉइसेस, आइदर वी शो दिस टू द यूजर, ये शो कर देते यूजर को कि ऐसा कुछ कोड में एरर आ गया है एंड वी आर अनएबल टू सबमिट योर फॉर्म। विल इट मेक एनी सेंस टू यूजर? अगर हम यूजर को सेंड कर दे, इफ यू ट्राई टू सबमिट अ फॉर्म एंड यू सी समथिंग लाइक दिस व्हेन यू ट्राई टू सबमिट, कोई सेंस नहीं बनेगा, राइट? हाँ, सो बेसिकली यूजर को कुछ ऐसा इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहिए दैट कैन मेक सेंस टू यूजर. So we'll show it ki when this kind of exception happens, let's show the user that you have entered like text instead of number, please enter the number. Okay, so we'll show that to the user. So that is what exception is. Known error, we know that this kind of error can happen, but we can pre-handle it ki kya karna hai whenever it happens. Okay. What if we do not mention? So if we don't mention throws over here, so it is going to like give us error right away, because this is expecting us to mention throws. Okay, so it is expecting that it knows exception. Even though we don't have any custom message, that is fine, but it tells you that you recognize that there can be errors. Okay, so that's why it has asked us to mention that. Scanner ke case mein, it was not happening because scanner was handling this exception. Okay, so scanner was giving us runtime error when the
सर अगर 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 सर थ्रो हमने मेंशन नहीं किया है तब कोई प्रॉब्लम होगा?
हाँ,
मान लीजिए सर, मान लीजिए इंटीजर, हमने इंटीजर चाहिए, इंटीजर ही पुट किया है,
नहीं,
लेकिन
वो
थ्रो नहीं ले।
इसको इनपुट ही लेने नहीं देगा. सो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर मैं यहाँ से थ्रो रिमूव कर दूं ना, तो इट विल से दैट दिस थिंग माइट थ्रो एरर, राइट? सो लाइक वो तो तब पता चलेगा व्हेन वी गिव द इनपुट, राइट? बट अंटिल वी हैव गिवन इनपुट, जावा, हाउ विल जावा नो दैट दिस थिंग इज गोइंग टू बी फाइन? So Java says that this might throw error. So it is telling that unreported exception. There might be exception that should be caught or declared to be thrown. Right. So either we should catch this, that there's something might go wrong over here, or we should declare it. There can be something wrong, go wrong.
मतलब ऐसा कंपाइल टाइम में ही बता देगा, क्योंकि रन टाइम में तो पता नहीं है इनपुट क्या देंगे।
हाँ, रन टाइम में हमें पता नहीं यूजर क्या इनपुट करेगा, सो हम वी डोंट हैव एनी आइडिया, सो हम यहाँ पे थ्रो एक्सेप्शन मेंशन कर देते हैं कि वी आर अवेयर दैट दिस कैन हैपन एंड वी हैव नॉट हैंडल्ड इट राइट नाउ. अगर हम इफ यू फील लाइक वील हैंडल इट.
ओके सर, गॉट इट.
So we can extend to exception. Yes, we can extend to exception. Exception is like a particular class. So you will understand about throws, exception handling, class object, all those things in detail. Okay, so don't worry about that. That is something there. We'll understand it. Software development, how do we do it? There are tons of possibilities that happen, right? So for example, so your video streaming might fail, something in between. So you might have seen these exceptions actually. So in software development, right, when you click, sometimes what happens is when you click on a particular button, you see some random error that doesn't make sense to you, right? एक कुछ error दिख जाता है, programming kind of thing. You figure out कि there is something that went wrong in this software. There is a programming error. It should have shown me a message, but that thing is not handled. So did it ever happen when you are playing a video, you see a playback failed or exception, something like that happened? Sometimes you see, right? I have observed it. I was like trying to claim a file recently, and that claim site was broken for the health insurance. So it was like breaking. It was even directly showing the error in the backend that was happening, right? So I came to know कि यहाँ पे कुछ तो input का problem है that they are taking. Network error, if you are seeing that is like passed, right? So that exception is handled. Okay, understood? Chalo. I guess this gives you idea. Okay, right now you just need the idea. You will understand that topic in depth. So let's study about string builder. This is something which you need to use. Okay, just give me a second. Let me drink some water. Drink some water for yourself as well. Just a second. Okay. So let's come back. Yeah. So we have string builder, right? What is this, right? In the case of strings, I was talking about string builder a lot, right? I told you, right? String builder is more powerful, more capable, right? Than string. So let's see what is string builder, right? What does it do? Why? So you can think it like string builder is array list of arrays. Okay. जैसे array list था for arrays, right? Nitish, that was a good observation. So think like we had arrays, and arrays there was one problem. We cannot expand it, we cannot shrink it, we cannot create a flexible array. So for that we created array list. Okay. And for strings we have like same problem. It is immutable, we cannot even update it, and so on and so forth. So string builder says, don't worry, I'm there, I'll solve your problem. So string builder is like a array list of strings. Okay, simplest way. Okay. So what's the what are the things that it gives? Simple flexibility. String may we do not have the flexibility. We cannot add characters in end, we cannot add characters in between, we cannot add characters at the start. Right. So string builder allows us those operations. Not now, since I explained you array list in detail, I told you about memory. Think how string builder would be doing it. How did array list do it? By having some buffer space at the end, right? So if you are getting a ON logic, right? ON order one addition logic at the end, how can that happen? How is that fundamentally possible that you are allowed to add a character at the end of string in O1 time? So we were allowed to add a number at the end of the array in O1 time. Similarly, we are allowed to add a character at the end of string builder in O1 time. Now, how can this happen? We have empty space in the case of string builder. Simple. Okay. So for example, let's say string builder.
Sir, array list में order of one time है हो रहा है?
Array list में?
Array list order of n ना?
Array list में insertion is O1, right? Insertion at the end is O1, right? When you try to insert a number at the end of the list, that is O1. So for example, this array list a dot add, this operation was O1, right? So when you copy something to like another, that is ON. When you try to insert in between, that is ON. When you try to insert at the start, that is ON. But when you add it at the end, this is O1, right? This is a
सर, क्योंकि आपने कहा था ना सर, अगर 10 साइज के array list होगा, अगर मैं 11th element enter करने जाऊंगा तो.
But think it like in general, how much complexity do we tell in general of array list?
मतलब जो element insert कर रहा हूँ सिर्फ उसके लिए ON है. O1 है.
Okay, let me explain this. Array list में whenever you get this question, right? What is the complexity of insertion at end? Array list में let's say a variable, this is a array list. What is the complexity of insertion a number at the end? It is always O1. We say this as O1. Okay. So there is a ON operation that is happening, but very rare, right? If I'm asking you to perform 10,000 insertion, so we saw that in 10,000 insertion, only 6 or 7 of them is ON. Rest 997 was like O1 operations, right? So at the complexity of insertion at end. So insertion at end is O1 operation. Okay. Remember this, that this is a O1 operation. This is not an ON operation. Okay. Okay. So I told you that actually it is in memory not fundamentally possible, right? Fundamentally to memory, I cannot say, okay, this is the starting point of array list. Now we'll keep on inserting. This cannot happen, right? Because compiler will need to say to operating system that this is the amount of memory I need. Right? We need to say how much memory we need. Right? Otherwise, compiler is not going to give us memory. We cannot tell that give us an infinite size memory. We'll keep on inserting. We cannot do it. By default, it was of 10 size, and then we kept on doubling up until we wanted new space. Okay. But insertion at end is always O1. Okay. Don't confuse it and never say it in an interview ki insertion at end is ON. That is O1. Right? If interviewer asks you why it is O1, right? Why can you achieve this in array? Can you achieve insertion at end in array? Then you can explain that, okay, this is actually getting achieved in this way, that initially we are creating a 10 size array, and then we are doing 40, 20, 40, 80, and so on. So if I observe, if we have to, let's say, insert 100 elements, so we would only need 5 ON operations. Okay. And rest 95 operations are O1. Okay. So if we try to even find out the average, we get that most of the operations are O1. So we say that it is a O1 operation in general. ठीक है, it is not an ON operation. यहाँ पे worst case consider नहीं करते, यहाँ पे we find out the average case which is O1. Okay, understood? Now same thing is there in string builder. In string, what was the problem? String was like something a hello. We tell hello, so it tells that कि I need space for 5 characters. 5 characters plus space. What is 10? No issue, right? I guess if you are getting confused, you can ask, right? I know this is like a lot of fundamentals, but that's fine. If you are getting confused, you have doubts, you can ask, right? I am happy to repeat this part. So we have 5 characters, and we have like 10 bytes, right? So this character is 10 bytes in total. So what we do is when we create a string variable, we tell that give me 10 bytes, I will store this string constant pool when we create that string, right? And that is getting stored, our references pointing to that. Now in case of string builder, what is going to happen? String builder may we pass that new string, let's say hello. And we print this system.out.println s. Run it. Okay. So this is hello. Now, okay, this is fine. I guess यहाँ पे ये चलता है. I'm validating this. I guess concat works over here. Concat works. No, it is error, right? So we can do add or insert कुछ append it, I guess. I don't know why Java has so confusing names. Literally very difficult to remember as compared to any programming language I have worked on. Okay. C++ is very simple. Push pop. But they have named all the function as push pop. Java append, add, remove. Every data structure has a new name. Take it. Okay. Okay, so we'll bear with this, right? Java is very good. No worries, Java, right? We are not angry with you. Okay. See, so we have a append function, and what this is doing, this is appending a character at the end. Now we can append a string at the end as well, right? So this append function, so these functions are actually generic. So for example, what does generic means? If you pass a number as well now, it will work. I guess it should work, right? I don't think it should. See, it will work, right? So this is basically what it is doing. If you pass it any data type, it will convert it into string and it will join it at the end. Now this append operation is O1. This is a O1 operation. Can you get this operation in O1 time in string? No. And this was a very big problem. Remember in string concatenation, when we were getting that string concatenation result in ON, when you just wanted to add one character at the end, hello plus a new character, let's say A, right? So this operation was taking you order n time in string, right? I told you, right? This is order n. And because of this operation being order n, your substring became n square. Your like for example, creating any string thing that required manipulation, any string operation that required insert a character at end, insert a character at start, all of them became ON, right? And like the biggest problem was insertion at end, because this is something which we want to do in O1. Now, if this is solved, you can do a lot of operations similar to like a number addition, right? So number addition is O1, and this was ON, so that was increasing your complexity for every question in string. But now, since you're getting this same append operations complexity in O1, your complexity is you will reduce for a lot of scenarios, right? A lot of question that where you got n cube or something, and because of string concatenation, if you use this append, you might immediately get reduce it to n square. Yes. So array list. So string builder is like an array list of character. Now we can append. We can append one more string to another. Yes, you can append actually one more string over here as well. So right. So you can do append one more string. So for example, hello, and we can want to append a word, right? So this you can do, right? And this is also O1.
इसका कोई default size होता है सर? Array list पे जैसा 10 का default size था.
I can override, definitely override, because there is no way we can have infinite memory. So there is a default size, and for string builder also it might be 10 or it might be 20, something like that. So there is going to be a default size, and same logic it is going to follow, right? Logic wise it is going to be same. Let's say started with a 20 character. So it took a space, asked the compiler that give me 20 character space. Let's say 20 characters is 40 bytes. Give us 40 bytes. So until we are inserting 40 bytes, it will be fine. And as we insert more bytes, it will keep on, it will increase it to double size or something. ठीक है, 16 characters checked on goal, ठीक है, so the default is 16 over here. Okay. So that default is 16. Now it would initially start with 16 and it will double up or it will manage something such that it keeps you the complexity of this append as over. The simplest one is to double up that array list, and this we uses. I'm not sure very much of string builder how it is internally using it, but I'm pretty much certain that doubling up is the solution that it might also be using, right? But in string case, 16 characters means 32 bits. 16 characters is each character is 2 byte, not bit, right? Each character is 2 byte, not bit. Bit is different. Bit is single 0 1. Each character is represented as 2 bytes. So 16 characters is 32 bytes. Yes. So initially it is of 32 byte size, and as we add or do append operations, then their size, if we exceed the size, it will try to create more. So for example, here we have 5 characters and we are adding 6 more characters, so it won't exceed 16 characters, right? So it won't double up, it can just add it. So it is just like updation in array, right? So how it is updation in array? O1, right? Simple. So if you have one character, it is going to be O1. Right? So if you have one character, so this is O1, just update a character at a given index in array. Okay, done. So easy. Since we understand memory, so all these concepts are easy. Now tell me few things, right? Tell me few things. What's the complexity of going to search something in string builder? If I tell you to find a character, whether it is present or not, what's the complexity for doing that? Order n, right? Because you will need to traverse it. There is no nothing you can do it. I guess it is s.get. So let's do system dot. So we have system. So I guess the is get and set. So it is dot get, that you can get pass it the index, and it will give you the character. So 0 is having character h. No.
गेट तो array list का था सर.
So let's see. I am also very bad at remembering these names. So string builder function. Next, you can go through this functions list. Let's take this one, right? WD school style. It doesn't have string builder. So let's see this one. Okay, so these are the functions, right? Append the specified string at the end of the string. Insert is basically insert a given string, right? So you can pass a string or basically a character or anything, right? So these functions are generic. So for example, if you pass a number, it will automatically convert it into string. Okay, so string builder mein na, these functions are generic. So for example, if you want to read a character, so that is caret. Character reading is caret, right? Why do we have get? So I guess caret will work. Caret. So this is the same function that's there in string. So string builder has all the functions that is there in string. So all the functions that we learned on strings, right? 2 lowercase, 2 uppercase, caret, contains, replace all the implementations that I showed you, right? Compared to ignore case, equals ignore case, all the functions that we discussed on string, all the function would work on string builder. Okay, so all the functions work on string builder with the same name. You don't even have different names. These are the additional functions that you have. So you have append, you have insert, right? So in string, there was no possibility of insert operation. Remember, I showed you how do you insert in string? How do you insert a character in between of string? In, let's say, index 3, if I tell you to insert a character, how do you do that in string? Anyone remembers?
पहले substring निकालना पड़ता था, फिर इसमें character input.
Right. So what is the complexity of finding out substring?
N square.
N square. So the insert operation used to be n square, but now here insert operation is ordering. Okay. So let's say if we want to insert at index 1 पे insert करते हैं, ठीक है, world. Right. We just print this as. So this is order n. Think of like array list, right? Start thinking just like array list, how it works. It will be the same logic, right? So array list में what we are doing, we are just shifting all of this to the right, and we are inserting this. So shifting is order n operation. So that is the order n. Insert operation is order n. Okay. Replace is like replacing the substring. We'll replace it. That is again order n. We'll delete something. So delete would again involve shifting. So that is order n. So what does delete do? So for example, let's say we inserted this and then we do s dot delete and we pass it the start and end index, let's say 0 to 2. So this is the string that we have and we pass 0 to 2. So 0, 1, these two characters would be deleted, right? So delete is similar to basically see, deleting two characters, this is shifting. Everything gets shifted to the left by 1. This is again order n. Acha, why was substring n square? Anyone remember substring क्यों n square था? So we used to, let me quickly write this. Let's say we want to find a substring till k index. And we used to do this. Let's say sub is equal to sub plus s dot caret I. Now remember why this is. So this was concatenation was order n and this was again order n. So this becomes n square, right? So every concatenation operation was order n. Every concatenation operation required to copy and create a new string. Additional space 9, right? So concatenation was order n. But here this concatenation operation is O1. But just think of doing this string instead of doing this. If you do it O1, so you just have the complexity for loop, right? So substring becomes ON. Right, so substring becomes ON. So all the n square operations get reduced to order n, and the concatenation operation get reduced to O1, which is a very significant improvement from string, right? Order n square to order n just by changing how fundamentally we have created string. Copy and add. So copy is going to be order n and addition is O1, right? So copy and add is O1. Copy is going to be order n, right? How much complexity do you have in array list if you copy it? Order n hi hota, right? Individual substring complexity. I guess. I guess you all are getting confused. See. Let me stop. Right, you all are getting confused. Let me just pause here. Think. Concatenation in string was order n. Okay. This single operation was order n. Now this operation when you require to do, when you want to add a new string at the end, when you want to insert something in between, when you want to find substring, when you want to replace something. So all these operations required string concatenation. So all the logic became n square, because without string concatenation, you cannot do it. If you are looping through it, you will do string concatenation, right? So that will make it ON, order n square, right? Inside a loop, if you do string concatenation. Now this append is O1. Fundamentally, वो जैसे भी implemented, few operations might be order n. Our average operation is O1, right? 99% operations are O1, so time complexity is O1. Let's stick to that. Okay, we know fundamental how it is getting O1. That is a different question. Let's stick to O1 complexity again. Now O1 complexity, since we got for this, and if we just replace this with like the logic of string builder, what is the total complexity of finding substring? Order n. What is the total complexity of insertion? Order n. What is the total complexity of replace? Order n. Because in all such insertion, replace, all such things, you need to find out substring. Here, substring complexity is order n. So your entire complexity will decrease to order n instead of n square. Understood? Delete would require shifting. So that is again order n. So you can shift things, right? Here you can shift things. You can move things. In string, you cannot shift. String was a constant value. You cannot shift things within the strings. You cannot delete a character. You cannot increase or decrease size. That was a constant value. This is not a constant value. This is like a flexible array. You can shift things within it. You can move. Okay. Append can only add at the end. Insert can add in between, but this insertion in between will be order n, right? Think in terms of memory. How can you insert in between something without shifting things? So shifting will require order n operation. So insertion will be order n, because insertion requires shifting of things towards right or towards left. No, not left, towards right. So shifting of something is order n operation. And delete. So delete के बाद last वाला null हो जाएगा, right? So when we print the string, it will not print those null values, right? So it will not print those empty values and the values that we have. So for example, see here we have deleted 0 to 2. That means 0 and 1 index character we have deleted. Well, how does delete work? Can we delete memory? We cannot delete memory, right? That is not possible. How does delete work? How did I tell you delete works in array? If I tell you to delete something from the start of array, what is the only way you have? You shift things towards left. So basically, you're overwriting the index 0 with the index value 1, index 1 with index 2, right? So you shift things. So that is how delete works, right? So here also we are shifting things to index to the left. So that's how delete is working. Now shifting is ON operation. So because of that, this is order n. Understood? Now clear? So think it like इसको string builder को ना say कि think it like array list or array that will help you understand all this complexity. String में it was little bit different. Can we restrict and use nulls in the later empty ones? I guess it uses null itself, right? It uses null. So by default, if you just shift it, you are not using, if you have empty spaces, Java puts null values in it. So Java puts null into it. So by default, it is null. Where string builder is saved in memory.
मेनली सर स्ट्रिंग और स्ट्रिंग बिल्डर में सर कॉन्केटिनेशन के लिए तो सर कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी बढ़ रहा है और तो किसी के लिए कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी नहीं बढ़ रहा.
Yes, main in string because of concatenation.
Concatenation.
Now
because copying
used in lot of places, right? So वो और बाकी सारी चीजों को complexity increase कर रहा है. For example, substring, insertion, replace, everything becomes n square, right? So here we have solved that problem. Here we cannot solve it because how strings are created as constant values. You cannot alter its size. You cannot do anything. Constant values cannot be manipulated like arrays or something, right? String builder is not created as a constant value. It is created in the heap section. Okay, so also remember, string builder is not part of string constant pool. It is a part of heap of the memory, not a part of string constant pool. Okay. So this is a part of heap of the memory, not a part of string builder. Pure heap, not string builder, not a constant. Okay. Okay, so concatenation, you have a better complexity in string builder, right? So when what will you use, string or string builder? You will use string builder, right? Obviously, most of the cases you would want to use string builder because it is better than string. No doubt, string builder is better than string in any given scenario. Okay, array was fundamental, right? We learned array. We learned that array list was built out of arrays. String builder is built similar to like array, not similar to string. String say there is no correlation of string builder with string fundamentally as well. Okay, array list was fundamentally related to array. Underhood it is array. We are just thinking it differently. String builder is not fundamentally string altogether. It is fundamentally kind of like array or array list. Okay. Array list is another data structure. String builder is another data structure. So these are all the data structures that we were talking about, different ways to store data, right? See, string builder later came, right? String builder baad mein aaya. String is more of like, if we want to don't manipulate string, if we just want to store a string, okay? We don't want to do manipulation on it or something, then we will use string, right? Manipulation nahi karna. We just want to read it. We just want to store it. Just want to display it. So string is better, right? String builder will waste memory. It is leading to wastage of memory. If I know that my string is going to be 5 bytes, so why to create a string builder? If I know that my string, let's say I just want to show a message to user, hello, I am a robot. Okay, I know the size is fixed. It's not going to vary. So why to use string builder? String builder is going to waste space. I just want to display text message, which is going to be this. I'm not going to alter it. I'm not going to do anything. So I'll use strings. Fundamentally fine. Okay. The thing where I need manipulation, you can even convert a string to string builder. How can you do this? The time you want manipulation, you can just pass this string to string builder, create a string builder out of this string, and then use this. So this is a fine operation. You can post a string variable as input to the string builder. Same as array and array list. Yes. No, you don't need to add anything. It is there in util. So you can, if you have written util.star, it would automatically be there. Okay. Understood? String builder makes sense. Its usage, and then you have a list of functions. So I guess there are few, like append is only one that you might need. Insert, append and insert, delete, reverse. It has also a function to reverse, which will reverse this thing, but you know how to reverse, right? You can use this reverse function, but most likely you should try to implement this reverse. So I'll give you one assignment today. Try to implement the reverse function yourself. String builder is something interviewer will allow you to use string builder. Interviewers, no, right? You have to specify the problem. This is the order and operation. Now to solve this, there is no way solving this using string. So you have to use string builder to solve this. That's fine. Interviewers allow you in Java to use string builder.
स्ट्रिंग बिल्डर का साइज क्या है, इसके लिए कोई फंक्शन है जैसे एड लिस्ट में था सा एड
I
और
guess
साइज?
having a capacity, right, that tells you this, or there is a function known as ensure capacity, which tells you, which you can using which you can specify how much capacity you want your string builder to be, right? So, for example, initially it is 16, but if you want to get it higher, so let's check, right? What is the capacity? Let's just pass it hello. Hello, pass it. Run it. I guess it tells. Let's check, right? How much it is telling. 21. So right now it is telling that it is of 21 length. So it initially was 15, and then we like added more string things to it. So I guess it is always keeps 15 space, 16 space in reserve. So the thing that you were telling, right? It is having 16 length. No, it is basically creating 16 plus the length that we are passing, I guess. So if I give hello world, I think it will create 16 plus 11, 27 size. Yeah, so see, it is creating 27 size. So that's how it is managing. So when I do append, so for example, let's say we just do this string builder dot append a. Okay, so we are adding one more character at the end of this. See size. See now this append operation is not increasing the capacity, but if I print it, it would have that a character at the end. Okay, so adding this character does not increase the size. It did not copy it. It used the same string space to add this new character because it had already reserved extra space for it. Understood? How is it working now? Okay, when you created that string, when you created this string, when you created a 11th length string and you use string builder to create it, it created 11 plus 16. So 27 length का उसने capacity create करा. ठीक है. Now when you whether you append or whether you don't append characters, it is going to tell you that my capacity is 27. See, when I'm not appending character, it is telling my capacity is 27 and it is going to store 27 characters. So like it is having 16 buffer spaces. Now
when 27 क्यों हुआ सर, थोड़ा बताएं?
So like 11 plus 16. So it is keeping 16 as reserve space for the number of characters you want to add. Okay. So jo bhi like the size of the string plus 16. Okay. So that is the thing that it is creating. Now, when you do append operation, it is not creating any additional memory, not copying things, not doing any order and operation, just adding the new character at the end where it has already additional space. So it needed only 11 space, but it claimed 11 plus 16. So it had 16 extra space. ठीक है, तो उसको यहाँ तक ही जरूरत है, इसने यहाँ पे 16 extra space create करा. Now, when you are adding it has this extra space, so it can just add it. Okay. Yes, I know. How to know string size? Same string dot size. I guess string builder dot size would work. String builder dot length, that would work, right? So all the string functions work if you want to know the length, right? So instead of so for example, this is the capacity and the length might be different. Length is the actual number of characters you have. Capacity is the total number of capacity right now. Length is the total number of characters you have, right? So length is basically 12. So length is telling the number of characters you have. The remaining space is filled with null or null values or values that we do, like that is empty, right? Understood? So you can use string function like length to get this. Capacity will tell you this. And there is also a function which is ensure capacity. This tells us that if you want to ensure a minimum capacity of, let's say, 50 characters always, right? Or ensure a minimum capacity of something that you can specify over here. It will like ensure that the string never gets below that point. Right? It has minimum that much capacity. Right? But these are the few additional functions that's there. Apart from that, all the string functions work. So there is no difference in that, and that's fine. Yeah. String buffer can be used. So string buffer is like that buff reader that we understood, right? So that string that is input we are taking, that is like the buffer, right? That we call as stream. So string buffer is that stream only. The stream that we understood, that is string buffer. String buffer is nothing but that stream that we were trying to understand, right? What is stream of input? So if you append more than 16, what is going to happen? Same double karega, right? Kuch to logic hoga that would so it will double up. Let's say its capacity. It will try to create a new string having more 16 additional character or 32 additional space, right? so that ultimately you get order 1, right? So such operations would be very rare. Every 16, every 32, or every 100th operation would be like that. So you finally get a order 1 append in together, right? On average, your append operations are over. Understood?
सर मतलब जो एक्स्ट्रा स्पेस रिजर्व कर रहा है तो उसकी वजह से ऑपरेशन ओवन हो रहा है, राइट?
O1 हो रहा है, right? See, so operation can only happen in O1 if we have that extra space. अगर extra space नहीं होगा, then we will copy order it, right? So copy करना है order it, and we cannot have infinite extra space. We'll have always no data structure can have keep in reserve infinite space. It will have to tell the system ki how much space it needs, right? If I am creating a string builder, it has to tell ki I need this much space. Whether it might be storing characters, it might be keeping that space for reserve. Think it like our petrol tank mein, like our motorcycle has some amount of fuel it keeps in reserve, right? So यहाँ पे same way it is keeping some amount of space in reserve, so that if we overflow, it will use that space. Okay. Show the section. If we try to append essay and then remove it in the string builder, it will show only 16 characters there, right? वो 16 वाला space maintain रहेगा, right? So it is 27 until we exceed, keep on adding character and append, and we exceed it, it will be 27. And when we exceed 27, it might create 16 or 32, that additional space कुछ तो create करेगा, and then it will copy. So there will be one order n, but that order n operations are going to be very low as compared to the O1 operation. So final complexity we can say is O1. Understood? Same like array list जो वहां पे था. Okay.
तो स्ट्रिंग बिल्डर का डिफॉल्ट साइज 16 होता है.
Default size 16, it is taking 16 plus the initial character that you have given. So for example, if I pass an empty string over here, it will take 16. But if I give some character like hello, कुछ pass कर दिया, so it will be taking 16 plus 5, which is 21. Okay.
Okay, sir.
String buffer is also right, fine. You are telling string buffer, right? String buffer is basically for reading. वो read के लिए use करते हैं हम, not for like reading. That is not a data structure, I'd say. That is for reading stream of input. ठीक है? Okay. Similar to like the buffer reader करा है, right? Stream of input it is reading, same way this is it. Okay. चलो, quickly go back, come back from your dinner. We'll continue this. We'll try to solve a few questions. I guess you have doubts, so that also we'll try to address. Okay. So quickly come back. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you all had your dinner. So now let's solve questions. So we are done with all the concepts that's there. Right, so this is what is in module 1. Right. First of all, congratulations. Kudos that you were able to bear with me for this much time. Right. You all asked generally very good questions and you were listening very carefully. So kudos to all of you. You can clap for yourselves. Right. So that was good. Now we are into like the climax where we'll be just solving questions. Now the final goal is we have 5-6 days, whatever days we are remaining, will complete as many questions. So you won't see new questions getting added into the portal, right? So we already learned all the concepts. So we will try to discuss as many questions as possible over here. If there is questions that are remaining, right? There are questions that remains that we are not able to cover over here. So you can use the doubt sessions. You can use them to get them cleared. I'll try to do at least the major ones. For example, the hard level questions or medium questions where you need more detailed explanations. Okay. So all those questions I'll try to cover over here. There is anything that would be remaining. So you can use the doubt sessions for that. Okay. And we'll have revision, 2 more revision sessions, 3 more revision sessions, I guess we have. So we'll use it to revisit the concepts that we have covered till now, like for example, 2D matrix and so on. Triplet sum and string palindrome substring, right? So I guess ye dono karte hain, right? So let's start with triplet sum. So we are left with that question. I'm not sure this one. So let's see this one first. Let me close a few tabs. Do you need any one of these links? I guess you can simply Google up, right? String builder functions. So this is nothing to share. Input stream reader, you can just Google up and you'll get this notes that there is nothing as such over here. Yeah, I'm just closing the tabs because Chrome is like I told you, right? Chrome is very bad in managing tabs. We'll be teaching module 2. I guess let me think. So module 2. I can't exactly remember who would be there. Others would be not. Others would be there. Bhavya will not be there. Ghana teacher be same. You might see it me again, right? Honestly, you might see me again in depth. But the teacher who is there, right? I can guarantee you, he is like very good. Okay, so he is very good. He's like we are like 4 or 5 teachers who are teaching for like 1.5 years now with EkeJob, and he's one of the like very highly rated teachers. So he's very good. So don't worry about that teacher part. You are the teacher that is going to cover your module 2 is like super. Like he's very good. He has been teaching it for from like 1.5 years, and he has very good amount of experience. So you're going to get a very good instructor. Like don't worry on that part. Okay. So all the
you are not taking module 2, sir?
I guess this month I don't have module 2. I'll have to see the allocation. That might not happen. Might not have happened till now. But see, entire point is why do we change this instruction so that you can learn from everyone, right? So I gave you a lot of things that you learn from me on the basics part. On the when you'll see the advanced part, there will be the new teacher. You are going to learn more from his perspectives, right? So whatever additional things I want to tell you, I'll tell you, right? We'll definitely meet again, right? So there is like 7-8 months you're going to be there. So you might meet again in a front end or a back end module or in DS3 or something. Okay. So it's not like we will not see again. We just want to give you more knowledge from all the instructors that's here, right? So learning with one and I'm very much sure that you are going to like the instructor. Okay, you're going to get used to it, and he's very good. Okay, so you're not going to face any problems. Okay, if you have any problems, do let me know. Do let us know. We here to student feedback, right? So students are everything, right? So if you are not able to understand, our goal is not getting fulfilled, right? See, at the end of the day, we are not a boot camp or we are not a like course platform, right? We promise you jobs. We promise you to make interview ready, right? So we will try to give the best to you so that you can learn. Our ultimate goal is to give you knowledge give you that skills, right, to train you, right, and to make you interview ready. And that can only happen if you are able to learn, right? If you are not able to cope up, we'll listen to your grievances. Okay, so there is not going to be any such scenarios. Don't worry. Your the instructor is good, and you're going to enjoy teaching as you enjoyed over here. Okay, so that's for sure. Okay, so let's look at the questions now. So first is triplet sum and about ropes in Java. So what is ropes? I don't get. I thought ki something. Sir, what do you mean by ropes? Is there any concept that you're talking about? Acha, fast string on continuation we get. Acha, I don't think that we have that right now. Okay, I don't think that's there. So I don't think that was there over here, and I'm mostly not used it. Might be that's there in the. So I guess it is okay. I guess it would be there in the advanced data structure module in the module 4, where you will be studying about graphs and trees. So there you will be studying this. Okay, so ropes would be there, but not now. It would be there in graphs and trees wala part. Okay, because it is like similar to graphs and trees. Yeah. Okay, let's see this question. So you are given a non-decreasing integer array. So what does non-decreasing mean? So non-decreasing is basically ascending order. Okay, if you have duplicate elements, so ascending means increasing. So non-decreasing means if you have duplicates, it is sorted in the ascending order. Okay. Array list ARR and a number X. Find and return the number of distinct triplets in the array list, which sums up to X, because we have to find out the distinct triplets in the array list, which will sum up to X. Now let's see the constant. So n is of size 10 to the power 3. So we can write the n square logic or n square log n, something like that, but we cannot go beyond it. We can. Now let's think through solution of what we can do. So it is telling array list sorted can contain duplicates. So there is few information that is given to us. So it has told that it is a non-decreasing array list. So that means it is sorted. So we can use the sorted information. Sorted is a very big information that is given to us. Achha. What else do we need? Okay, so I guess this is fine. Now given array list is sorted, it can contain duplicate elements as well. Okay, duplicate is fine. Now the first line of contain integer t, which denotes the number of test cases that run. Okay. So we are given an array. Let's say this is the array which is sorted. We are given a x and we have to figure out. So simplest logic, run 3 loops, take 3 elements, I, j, k. I will run from like 0 to n. J will run from I plus 1 to n. And k will run from j plus 1 to n. Okay. 3 loops, take 3 numbers, check that if it is already present. If not, then insert it. N to the power 4 solution. Right. Then finally, if you got the triplet, you check in the result array list. Actually, we have to count it. We have to just count the distinct triplets. So for example, we might get okay. Distinct wala scenario, we can handle it in some way. I have a smart strategy to handle it. I get bigger. Take it. Now this is n cube and this is a problem, right? Right now, like till now we have solved problems. So you would have guessed why n cube is a problem, because this is 10 to the power 3 and n cube will be problem, right? N cube will 10 to the power 9 and it will be a problem, right? So we can't do it, right? We have to think little bit smart. So okay, let's think, right? So यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा smart सोचते हैं. We try to think smart. What can what's like the problems over there. So one is duplicates. So let's leave the duplicates aside for first, and let's check, can we in n square find out triplets? Okay. And what is the information that is given to us that this is sorted? Can we use this sorted information somehow? Okay. See. So let's say what we are doing over here is, in this logic, we are fixing I and j, and we are trying to find out element k. Okay. We are basically fixing I and j index, and we are trying to find out the element k. Yes or no? Yes. Yes, this is the logic. Achha. Now, there can be a lot of possibilities. For example, I plus j is already exceeding k. So for example, when we fix I and j, and we are trying to get I plus j, it is already exceeding k. So when we add I and when we add j, this is already exceeding k. Now doing a traversal for like already exceeding the x. Now doing a traversal for k, does it make any sense? If I plus j is greater than a of I plus a of j is already greater than x, then doing a traversal, does it make sense? No, right? Acha. So it doesn't make any sense. So let's do one thing. Think of it in this way. Let's say we fix one. Okay, one we fixed. Okay. Now we have to find out like the number using which we can the two numbers which we can add to make the x. So let's say we fix one को हमने fix करा, and we are trying to find out these two values. Let's call it a plus b. We are trying to figure out these two values such that they result into the sum. Okay, just a second. Okay, sorry, just a second. Okay, sorry. See, so now what we want to do over here is, let's say we fix a and then sorry, fixed one, and then we want to find a and b. Now a and b can be summed. Let's use a simple concept. Okay, so let's take a as this value and b as this end value. Okay. Now we are doing 1 plus 2 plus 7. So 2 plus 7 is 9 and plus 1 is 10. Acha. We get this value as 10. Now, do we need to increase the sum or decrease the sum to reach the x, which is 12? We need to increase it or decrease it? What we need to do? Do we need to increase or decrease
Increase, sir. Increase.
We'll increase it. Now, how are we going to increase it? See, moving this, can moving b towards left increase the sum? Anyway, no.
No, sir.
We need to move a towards right. So we'll move a towards the right. So now let's check. Let's add 3. 3 plus 1, 4 plus 7. This is 11. Oh, again, we are still less. Now what we can do is, we can now increase again a. Okay? We'll again increase a. So we'll get this as 4. So now 4 plus 7, 4 plus 7, 11 plus 1, 12. So now we are getting 12. So we found the first pair. What is this first pair? 1, 4, and 7. Is it? No. Now, since it is become 12, now it has become equal. Should we increase a? Will it give us will it give the sum, or it is going to give a larger value? If we try to move a towards right,
gives larger value.
It will give larger. So we cannot move a towards right. So let's move a towards right. So if it is equal, let's move a towards right. So a moves towards right, we get 5. So we get 5, which is like now making the sum as 30. Now sum became greater. Earlier, when the sum was lesser, we were moving a. Now the sum became greater. What we need to do is, we need to move b towards left. If the sum becomes greater, we start moving b towards left. If the sum becomes lesser, we start moving a. So now b comes over here. So it make it 6. So 6 plus 5, 11 plus 1, 12. Now this is fine. So we'll got one more pair, 1, 5, 6. Right. So we got 2 pairs using this. Now next iteration will increase 6 as well. Sorry, next iteration, this is again equal, so we'll increase a. Let's say when it is equal, we increase a. A comes over here. This is equal. So 6 plus 6, 12 plus 1. So this is 13, right? So this is greater. We decrease b. So b becomes less than a. So we stop over here, right? So until they are equal, we'll keep on running. If they stop, so we cannot take duplicate times. Okay, we cannot take this. We cannot take one element 2 times. So a should be less than b. We'll keep on doing it, and if they become equal, we'll stop then and there. Understood? So one simple interpretation that I can take from here is, if the sum is less, we increase a, let me write it in so that you can see. If the sum is less, we do a plus plus. If the sum is greater, we do b minus minus. Okay. If it is less than or even equal to, we do less than or equal to, we do a plus plus. And if it is greater than, we do minus minus. Okay. Understood? Bashe, tell me, understood this one? In case of equal, you can do both as well, but that would handle the scenario. Okay. Acha. Now, what to do in case of duplicates? So let's say let me copy this. Let me try to paste it.
Sir, if the given array is not in sorted order, then what to do?
If they're given, so it is given, right? It is already given that it is non-ascending order. That is given in question, right? Non-decreasing order. It is non-sorted order. It is sorted array, right? So if it was non-sorted, we can do a n log n sort, right? Or n square sort is also going to work fine, right? Because this is like a 10 to the power 3. So n square is fine, n log n is fine, everything is fine, but n cube is not fine, right? So if it is not given, right? So then, so here it is made your life simple by explicitly telling that it is sorted. But if it would have not mentioned that this is sorted, it is not in sorted, we can apply sorting. Sorting is n square or complexity, right? So we can do it. So when we try to, let me do one thing. Let's try to increase the size to 8 and let me add one more 4 to it. Now try to get the expected output. So still we are seeing 5 when we have one more 4, right? Acha. Now in case for this, for example, this in our logic we'll get 2 pairs. One earlier we got 147 and now we'll again get 147. Right? Can you tell me how can we skip this?
Sir, if array at index A is equals to array at index A plus B, then we increment A to one index.
So if we are considering, right, for example, if we are considering that value at array index A, we can just skip that value, right? Acha, tell me one thing, one simple question that you might get in interview. Can we remove all the duplicates initially and then try to run this logic? Will it work fine? So let's say if there are multiple 4s, we'll remove the 4 and we'll just create an array like this and we'll run the logic. Will it be okay or it will be some problem? There will be some problem.
Problem, sir.
Tell me what's the problem?
Sir, जो मतलब उसकी sum भी like 4 plus 4 plus 4 भी 12 आ सकता है.
Yes. So yes, someone noticed. Let's say if there are 3 4s, यहाँ पे 3 4s होंगे, and so it is a valid pair, right? 3 4s, 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. So this is a valid substring. What it has told कि इस तरीके के दो नहीं होने चाहिए. There cannot be two such some things which will be 4 4, right? Or there can be but one such substring, one such combination, one such triplet can exist, right? Which is 4 4 4. So one such triplet can exist. So you cannot remove all the duplicates first and then run this logic. You'll have to handle the duplicates case on the fly. Understood? Why will you have to handle the duplicates case on the fly? Why can't you remove it? Because if you remove, you'll lose such scenarios, right? 4 plus 4 plus 4. Okay. Think now should start thinking. Okay. Chalo. Let's look at the logic. I know this is going to be tricky. I might even get some edge cases as well. Okay, let's check what else. What's the solution that we can get? This is a good question. This is a good question. If you have good doubt. So okay. So let's see, right? So we'll fix one of the values and then we'll try to shift 2 values. Do we need to? Okay, so for every value, so let's say int I is equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. So 4 4 3. So for example, C. For example, if you have an input like 4 4 4. Okay. So let's say this array has 3 4s. So my question was, can I remove all the duplicates and then check whether it is a pair or not? But here, if you remove the duplicates first, so you won't get 4 4 4 as a valid pair, but 4 4 4 as a valid triplet. But is 4 4 4 a valid triplet? Yes. It is a valid triplet. It should be there in answer. It is told that the triplets cannot be duplicated. You cannot have one more triplet for 147, right? You cannot have one more triplet like 147, but one number can be present multiple times in the triplet, right? हाँ सेम नहीं होना चाहिए 444 के जैसा दो ट्रिपलेट नहीं हो सकता, एक तो हो ही सकता है, राइट? अगर हम डुप्लीकेट्स हटा देंगे तो एक की पॉसिबिलिटी भी चली जाएगी, राइट? So for example, now if I run and try to get expected output, it should say 6, I guess. 6, 7, 6. See, it is telling 6 because 444 is also, so all these triplets are valid, and then 444 is also a valid triplet. तो उसे भी तो consider करना है, right? Okay. So now let's start with a is equals to I plus 1, and okay, a is the name of array. So let's take two pointers. Let's call it as start and end. Okay, start is equals to I plus 1, and end is equals to j n minus 1. Last index. I'm telling how will we check for duplicates. Okay, let's first write the logic, and then I'll tell you. But for me, three loops worked because the test case might not have been that complicated, right? So that's why, like, the few of the test cases in the module ones are not that strict. They are given constants. So 3 loops will work, right? So everyone can figure out the solution using 3 loops, right? Wahan pe to no one has doubts, I guess. Everyone can write 3 loops, right? Wahan pe anyone has doubts, how can you check using 3 loops? That is easy, right? 3 loops may if you get a same pair again, just skip it. Okay. I guess 3 loops wala kar loge, and let me explain the optimal one. Okay. So you are getting test case easy for just for module 1, right? Just to get used to it, used to this thing. Going forward, your test case are going to be difficult in here as well. Okay. So as any lead code be difficult, and we have said like we don't know that key it is difficult there. We have kept it little bit easier on the module 1. Going forward, you will see stricter test case in every case. So module 1 mein, right, we are learning, right? So we just want you to build a logic. Abhi ke liye optimal code is we can try, we'll discuss it. Okay. Now let's see, right? So till when we want to run this loop, until while start is less than it. What is the triplet that we are getting? So the triplet sum is, so we can get the sum is, sum of the triplet that we have currently is a of, it is array list, right? So we can do a dot get I plus a dot get start plus a dot get end. Okay. Now there can be 3 possibilities, right? The sum can be less than x. The sum can be greater than x, or the sum can be equal to x. Okay, 3 possibilities. What do we do if the sum is less than x? We want to increase the sum, right? Isn't it binary search? No, binary. This is not binary search. This is 2 pointer, right? We are just taking 2 variables and we are just traversing it. Binary search is different. Binary search application.
ST plus plus.
Yes, we are using start. Here we increased end. See, we observed one thing, ki when the sum is less, we have to increase start so that we make the sum larger, right? If we decrease end, then it is going to make the sum smaller. If sum has become greater, then we'll make it smaller. Now, if the sum is equal, right? If the sum is equal, that means we found one pair, right? So either by start or by end, we found one pair. Now what we can do is, so we can do something over here. So we can count this pairs. We can do firstly increase count. Okay. Let's do one simple thing, count plus plus. So count equals to 0. Okay. And at the end, we'll do this for all the things. So we'll get the final count and we can return the count. We have not yet handled the duplicate scenario. Okay. So let's try to run it without duplicates and check whether it is going to work fine. So now this is the input. Let's just try to run it and we should see 5, right, over here, that we don't have duplicate. Then we don't have n. And n is equals to a dot length or size hota hai. So this is
Sir, a dot size.
JavaScript functions. Now I guess if I do it for years also, I'll not be able to remember name of function. Okay. So let's check. Something went wrong. Count plus plus. So we then need to increase the start as well. Next will increase start. Next iteration will increase tail.
I guess you have take the input different. It should be 7 for the size.
Oh, I guess I just 7. Okay, thank you for pointing that out. Okay, not n minus minus. That would like next iteration it would automatically handle. See, yeah. So we are seeing 5, right? Now that's fine. Like we are seeing 5. We have not just handled the duplicate scenario. So for example, now if we give duplicates, it's going to like give us more output. Like it's going to give like for example, we should see 6 over here. We see 1. So break ho gaya. Why do we see 1?
Sir, size of array.
Oh,
Size
sorry.
of array.
Should be 9. Let's run the code. Now, yeah, we should be seeing 12, right? See, so we are seeing 12, but if I try to get the expected output, we will not be seeing 12. So here what is happening wherever we have 4, right? So for example, 4, 4, 4. So we are seeing 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6 multiple times. We should be seeing 6. Now, what we can do over here is every time we are counting a particular pair, we counted a pair, right? So we like let's say we took 4 from the start or we took 7 from the end. So what we can do is while a of a dot get start, this is double equals to a dot get start plus 1, right? If start plus 1 is existing, if let's say start plus 1 is less than n, if this is a valid index, right? So we check if it is duplicate. If it is duplicate, then what we do? We simply increase it start plus plus. Okay. And at the end, while we are done with this, we move to the next number. And same thing we do it just again for the end. But in case of end, we'll check for -1. So instead of this, we'll check for end -1 if it is greater than 0 or equals to 0. So we'll do it for end. We'll just try to find a new number from end and we'll do it end -1. Okay. We'll do end minus minus. And we'll do end minus. Okay. So I'll explain this. I'll show you example. Let me just validate this. This is working fine. I don't have any breaking edge case. I see 5. Now there is one problem.
Sir, it does not include 444.
It will not include 444. Yes, that is one problem. Yes, that's what I was thinking, right? Okay, let's check. How can we include this in duplicates? This duplicate is very tricky to handle. I have a better way using map, but we don't know map, right? So is there any way using it this way? When it is 4, what we are doing over here is, let's say we are over here. So we start the next over here and the next is over here. We don't get the sum, right?
Sir, can we store triplets in array list using count its frequency?
Can we store?
Triplets in array list using its frequency. How much time it's appear in the list?
We can push that into result and then we can check it at the end if it is already present. We can do that actually using that extra memory. See, I'll tell you what's the problem here is. So I guess ye to aana chahiye tha. Anyways, this I would be over here and start would be over here, end would be over here. So we'll check this sum is greater, then we'll decrease end and then we'll reach over here. So you should be increasing the count and then we'll like this start and end would overlap each other, right? But why are still getting 5? That is okay. So I guess there is a few edge cases to handle over here. Greater than n-2. That's not going to be a problem because this is not going to be true, right? If I is n-2, so ye to validating you. This is start less than n. This won't be 2 and will end up. Yes, I guess triplet saving into an array is a good solution. Okay, let's take it in this way. Okay, let's try to create this. I guess there might be a lot of edge cases to handle and it might become a little tricky to handle it. So I would say let's use this array list of integer. Okay, and let's call it as result, and let's do new, copy this thing, and and the time when we are finding out the triplet, what we can do is, at the time we are finding out the triplet, we can just simply do result dot add, and we can create a. Firstly, we need to create a new array list.
सर while loop में अगर इक्वल टू कर देंगे तो वर्क नहीं कर सकता क्या स्टार्टिंग वाले while के अंदर
while loop में equal to कर देंगे तो
less than equal to यहाँ पे
start cannot be equal to end, right? So they two cannot be the same index, right? So if you do it equals to, they would be pointing essentially to the same index, which is not possible. For example, here you cannot use 3 2 times in the triplet, right? So 3 should be one unique value. Getting the point?
yes sir okay.
So we can do this. See, this would be easier. So the name of the function is insert, right? Insert or add. It is add. Correct me if I am wrong with the name, but I remember ye add tha. Okay. So you can do a dot get I. First triplet sum there is this. We can do a dot add a dot get start, and then we can do a dot result dot add a dot get start and ठीक है, still get all the
सर वो इंडेक्स के वैल्यू ऐड करेंगे ना, हमें एरे की चाहिए मतलब arr dot I something like that.
no, we are getting the values that we are adding. Okay, not the index, we are adding the values directly into the result. Okay, so this is like an array list of array list. Now we are just adding the values. I'll tell you what this is together. Let me just do your system dot out dot println. Okay, so we can print the array list, I guess. So we can print this. Let me just run this. Say returning it will return 0. But see how this would look like. See, so this is the list of pairs that we are getting in this particular scenario. There are duplicates as well. For example, 147 is duplicate again. 147 is present over here. 157, which you don't see a duplicate for it. 24, so 3 4 5, this is duplicate 2 times, right? So we see a lot of duplicates. Okay, but what's the complexity of this particular logic? We have used additional space, and this is like the complexity of this logic is still n square, right? We are not this is not consuming anything. This is O1 operations. All operations are O1, creating and this. Now, can we just count each iteration once? Yes, we can do it again in n square logic. So we can just use an n square loop. I is equal to 0, I is less than n, which is now this n is basically, let's take a variable s, which is the size of this result of size. Okay, we can run this till s I plus plus. We can run it. Now what we can do is we can simply check if result okay, let's take a array list pointer. Is equals to, let's say r is equals to result dot get I is going to be an array list. Okay, now we just have to check whether this array list is not present again in, for example, 147 is present again, so we'll not count this. We'll check this again in the remaining part of the array list. If it is not present, then we'll count this. Okay, if it is already present, that we won't count it. If it is not present, then we'll count this. Okay, so most likely this would appear in the sorted in the consecutive cells, I guess. But I guess that needs validation. Will it occur always in consecutive cells? Yes, it would always occur in consecutive cells. Is there any equals to?
Yes, sir, they are on consecutive, sir. First index is 1 1, then after
Actually,
2 2.
take this scenario. So this might not be consecutive. Take this situation. Okay, 7 7 is present multiple times. Okay, given logic, and let's try to run this now. So might not get it always consecutive. In this, I have printed it. Oh, I did not print it. System dot out dot println result. So now if I run this, you might not see it as consecutive, right? I guess so, should not be. See, 157, okay, there is no duplicates. Okay.
सर ऐसा कुछ
147,
कर सकते हैं क्या
yeah.
जिसमें ऐड करते समय ही मतलब चेक कर लो
Add-
ऐड कर
So we can do it, but वहाँ पे ना order and logic हो जाएगा. Before adding it, if we check it is a order and logic. So that's the problem, right? So that's something like if you do it here order and so it will become n cube, right? So फिर वो same जो problem था earlier that we'll get. If we try to do a order and check over here. So that's why we are adding it over here and we are checking it separately so that we don't increase this nested complexity and we have a separate n square complexity. The n square plus n square is going to be n square, right? But यहाँ पे तो there is something that is going wrong. What's going wrong is 147 is not. So 147 we increased it. Acha. So this can be like count can be either. So we could either increase this or we can either decrease this end as well and we can get the same, we can still get pairs. So if we get it as equal, so we can, so 147 we should have got, right? Why are we not getting 147? So that's a bigger question. 1, 5, 7, 5, 12, and 13. How are we getting 13 into the result? Acha, we increased start before it. Oh, so this is something that we should do it after this. Sorry. Now it should be fine. Yes, so 147, 156. Yeah, so this is something which we are getting, which is the correct result, right? Now, 7147, we would have duplicates on this. We won't get duplicates like this over here and okay, we will increase start and let's do one thing, increase start and decrease end. So now if we have multiple such occurrences for just trying to validate a few edge cases. So here where we have multiple such pairs, right? So let's try to run our code and let's so array is already sorted in the start, right? So that is something which we don't have to worry about. Now we have duplicate pairs. We are getting 147, 147. Okay, let's try to get the expected output in this situation. We are getting 4. It should be 3. Okay. So we are seeing 1 duplicate. Okay, that's fine. I guess the duplicates are going to be adjacent, but there can be few cases where it is not. So let me write one generic solution. We'll firstly try to submit this and then we'll check whether it is working by thinking that they are always adjacent. Okay, we'll make an assumption that it is always adjacent and we'll check. So we'll do I plus 1. We'll start with index I plus 1. We'll go to the size length and we'll just try to check whether this array list that we are currently considering, it should not be present again, right? So for example, if we do this, r dot get this is the array list, and if we try to get any other array list like this, Control C, and we can do Control V, and let's call it as R2. So these are the two array lists that we want to compare, R1 and R2. R1 is at index I, R2 is at index J, and we have 3 values to compare, right? So this comparison is going to be O1. We can simply do R1 dot get 0. If this is equals to R1 dot get R2 dot get 0. If this is equal, and okay, let's copy this. This and this. Okay, so this is for index 1, and then we'll again check it for index 2. Okay, if they are equal, then we don't do anything. We just mark the something as, let's say flag is equals to 1. Initially, we can take a flag and flag is equals to 0. If we don't find any such duplicate of it, we are just going to add it to the result. We are going to increase count. If flag is equals to 0, we can increase the count. count plus plus. And we are not going to increase it over here. Let's try to run our code now. Okay, we are getting 3, which is fine, right? In this situation, we should be getting 3. Let's try to sum it. Okay, so see what I have done is I have simply stored them and then I'm just checking whether there is no duplicates of it while counting it. If there is a duplicate, we are not counting it. Yeah. So this is working fine. Now, let's talk about this. What is the solution? There is additional space. See, I prefer using additional space than doing into that. And I see right, additional space is problems, right? It creates problems. So we should not be just using it. We should be thinking. But right now, let me explain this and then we'll discuss how we can do it without using additional space. So see, what I did, the first logic was same, right? That I used, that I explained you. Okay, we will fix one number. Dekho, we were varying too many things. We were varying 3 numbers when we were writing 3 loops, right? So we are varying, like let's say A, B, and C. These are the 3 numbers. So we are varying A, B, C. Now, if A plus B is already greater than X, this A plus B is already greater than X, no matter however you change C, right? So it is going to be greater than X, right? Like if it is on the right side, it is going to increase the sum and it doesn't matter. So this is a waste of operation that we were doing. So instead of this, what we can do is, what was the logic that we figured out? Let's say we'll fix a value or pick one value which is I, right? And then we'll vary 2 index A and B. So we'll keep on varying A and B. Now we'll not vary A and B just like normal. We'll just try to run one loop A and one loop of B. That will become again NQ. So how will we vary? Since the array is sorted, we'll use that information. So how will we use that information? We'll keep 2 pointers. We call it as like 2 pointers pointing to some index here and some index here. We'll find out the sum of A of I plus A plus B. So we found out the sum of A of I plus start plus end. Okay, let's call it as start and end. Chalo, same thing that we recorded here. Okay, so we'll take 2 variables, start and end, and we'll point this start and end somewhere in the, like start would be just the next element and end would be at the end of the. Now, once we find out these 3 sums, either there will be 3 scenarios. Sum is less than X, sum is greater than X, or sum is equal to X. If sum is less than X, then we know that decreasing end or moving end towards left is not going to increase sum, right? Because towards left of end, there is smaller number. We cannot increase the sum. So the only option that we have is we have to shift start towards right. So that's what we are doing over. When the sum has become greater, the only option that we have is if moving start towards right will even increase the sum further. We have to decrease end by 1. Okay, so we decrease end by 1. Okay. Now these 2 things done. What if it is equal? If it is not less than, if it is not greater than, it is equal. So what we have to do in such scenario? So we took additional space and we are just telling let's store all the results that we are getting. Okay, let's not worry about duplicates. Let's get all the triplets and then we'll figure out if there are duplicates, how we are going to count it. Okay. So what we did is we just like 3 values, I, start and end. These are the 3 values that is giving us the given sum. So we added these 3 into the result and we increased start and decreased end, right? Start को एक आगे move कर दिया, end को 1 towards left move कर दिया, right? Start increased by 1, end decreased by 1. Even if you move one of them, the other is going to get moved by like this. Any one of these 2 will satisfy the next iteration. Right? So if you just move both of them, that also fine. And we added this into the result. The triplet, we added it to the result. Every time we are finding a triplet, we are adding it into a result. Now, result might have duplicate of triplets, right? Result can have duplicate triplets. Now we just have to rule them out to duplicate triplets over. So what I did not make any assumption. I simply ran one loop, that this is the first loop, and I'm going through the entire loop from I plus 1 to S. If there is any duplicate of the current triplet, like I 0, 0 matches, 1, 1 matches, and 2, 2 matches, right? So basically 1, 4, 7, and I get exactly 1, 4, 7. The other triplet is also 1, 4, 7. Then we don't count that. I mark the flag as 1 and I don't count it. If flag is 0, then only I count it. If there is no such duplicate of it towards the left, sorry, towards the right, then we count that triplet. Okay, so that is a unique, so that doesn't have, so every triplet is getting counted only once, and like duplicate ones are also getting counted only once, and finally we return the count. Okay, so that's how we are getting the result. Now this thing can be done in optimal way. For example, we might not even need this memory. We can handle it somehow over here by reducing start and handling that duplicate scenarios. But there would be edge cases that we'll get we need to handle them or take care of them. For example, 444, we had that thing. So that was one edge case that we were getting, right? So that's something which we need to handle. Apart from that, it's fine. Okay. Understood this? Duplicates will be side by side, right? Why duplicates won't be side by side? This logic is even not considering that, right? This logic is just assuming one thing, it is sorted. So sorted, so we have written the entire logic assuming the array is sorted. It was already told that this is non-decreasing array, right? So for example, the logic that we have written is only going to work if the array is sorted. If the array is not sorted, it is not going to work. So this itself is not going to be true, right? So this assumption that we made, that start should increase and should decrease, that will only be true if the array is sorted. If the array is not sorted, this assumption is not correct, right? We need to sort the array. Okay. Why we increase the start and decrease the end? Think it like this. See, so we have fixed one. ठीक है, ऐसे सोचो देखो. We have fixed one. ठीक है, one को हमने fix कर दिया. This is the value that we are considering. Now I want two more values that I can pick along with one. So I can take this and this. Okay. So I can do 2 plus 7. Now this is getting. So I got these two values. So I'm getting 7 plus 8, 9 and 1 10. Now how can you make this 10 to 12? So 10 to 12 can only be made the current sum that you got is less than the x that you're looking for. So how can you change 10 to 12? So the only way to change 10 to 12 is by moving start. You cannot decrease end towards left and you can increase, you can get a larger sum. That is not possible, right? I'm asking in the else part, see, in the else part, so you took this pair, right? So for example, let's say we got this 1 4 7. Okay. Now tell me one thing, in the else part, why we are doing both? Genuine question. Why I'm increasing start and why I'm decreasing it? Check like this. So I got 1 plus 4 plus 7. This is giving 12. Now if I increase just this start, so what's the sum going to be? So sum is going to increase, right? So this was already equals to x. Now if you increase the start, it is going to increase the sum, right? It is going to increase the sum. So what's the next step that you do when you increase when your sum increases? You decrease the end, right? So I told let's do both the operations at once. Let me increase the start, which might increase the sum. So this operation might increase the sum, and this will increase the sum, and this operation will decrease the sum. So increment and decrement might cancel out, and we might still get x. Got it? Right. If you even do it for one of them, other one will automatically get handled. Right? There won't be any edge case. So for example, let's say we just decrease end. Okay, you might get few additional duplicates, but we are checking for duplicates. Right? So you'll see it still getting passed, and you will still see it giving the correct result. See, you are seeing 3. Let's submit it. Disclaimer: it only works on sorted. This logic is for sorted specifically. If this question does not mention the array sorted, then the optimal solution is by sorting the array. Right? So if you even just decrease one of them, it is going to work fine. It is not going to be a problem. Or if you just increase start, it is still going to be fine. Okay. So if it is not sorted, you can sort the array and you can get this logic, because without sorting, you will get n cube. If you sort it, you get n square. Now, what's the complexity of this? N square, because see, this is the order n square logic, and here this is again an n square logic. So this is this actually you don't even need this logic. If you use a data structure like map or set, you won't need to write this duplicate logic yourself.
Hello, sir. Sir,
So
yes.
cube is 10 to the power 9, right? So at 10 to the power, here it is 10 to the power 3, and we are doing n cube, so it would become 10 to the power 5 9, which is a problem. Yes, sorry, someone is saying something.
सर ये वाला क्वेश्चन तो समझ गया सर, लेकिन बात है कि सर इसका लॉजिक कैसे आएगा? दिमाग पे तो कुछ आ ही नहीं रहा था क्वेश्चन देख के.
So so this is like a concept. Now we have done, I guess I did one more question where I took two variables pointing to 2 points in array, and then we increase or decrease. कुछ तो ऐसा करा था हमने array में. I remember somewhere we solved this, right?
हाँ सर, पहले palindrome के लिए किया था.
palindrome के लिए किया था, right? Thank you. So palindrome में we did it, right? So same logic that we have used over here, we call it as two pointer. See, in case of arrays now, there is very limited things that will apply. So you can note it down, right? So one is sorting. Okay. So either you will get some solution by using sorting. Okay. One is like moving the inner logic to the outermost, that you will see that you are doing duplicate work. Right now, how you can get that duplicate work without doing it? So few things can apply. You can use sorting, that will solve few of your problems. Other one is you can use things like subarrays concept, like cadence algorithm wala logic. Subarray means cadence ka logic, right? So you can modify cadence to get something like that. Here we have used something known as two pointers. Okay, so you can use two pointers to solve this. Now, since this array was sorted, now it gave us information that we can do this. Now, this is a very generic concept. There is a like search algorithm based on this. Okay, so there is a searching binary search which works on this logic that if the sum becomes greater, then we shift towards left, sum becomes greater, lesser, we shift towards right. So that is like, this is known as two pointer concept, where we take two variables. This is not a like logic. It's just a like what I would say, just a method to solve particular DSA problem, where you will take two variables, increase and decrease it, and then we find out the optimal solution.
सर जैसे सर अभी तक हमने पूरा सिलेबस खत्म नहीं किया, लेकिन जब पूरा सिलेबस खत्म होगा क्या इस क्वेश्चन को और कई तरीके से सॉल्व किया जा सकता है, तब थोड़ा इजी होगा?
There is only one more optimization, I guess we see. So, we can do it without using additional space. Just that I'm seeing a lot of edge cases. So 444 wala edge case was not getting covered, right? So there were few edge cases that were happening. There are so instead of the array list, there is duplicate that gets stored, right? So we have things like hash map. We have things like set, using which we can store this result. So we are storing the result using array list. We can use the hash map or set to store this result. In that situation, you don't need to do this operation. ये नहीं करने की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ेगी. So this entire thing you can omit, and you can just get the length of hash map or set, and that will be your result. Okay. So that is something which you will learn later. So that will optimize it even further. Com65 optimize नहीं करेगा, but this logic wise it will optimize. Hint on this one. चलो, I'll give you hints on. Okay, on this, understood this. Okay, I guess all the other question on array list is done. I guess NQ was getting accepted,
So,
but
और एक क्वेश्चन था सर Pascal's triangle का.
Pascal triangle was right. Pascal triangle 2 था, right?
हाँ 2.
Let me just copy this one. So these are good questions. See, these are like something which are very good questions. Even and I'll say that this question was like even in this question's difficulty was even increased because of the distinct thing, right? So it could have just asked for triplet sum, and then to figure out the n square logic was still difficult. It even increased the difficulty by putting that distinct thing. So you have to run this logic.
ऐसा क्वेश्चन सर मॉड्यूल टेस्ट में आ गया सर, खत्म सर. टाटा बाय बाय हो जाएगा.
If this kind of question happens, then it's going to be for everyone, right? So that's you're not going to get medium level aega. You can expect something like this right now. Like we'll solve few questions like this for that time, so you'll get used to it. Why is this not open? I copied pasted a link, right? Oh, sorry. Oh, I pasted the entire code there and searched it. So there was one link, which is this. Is this distinct palindrome? Distinct palindromic substring कल discuss करते हैं, ठीक है? I guess we'll need time to discuss it. Array swaps. ठीक है. What was one more? Pascal triangle. चलो, I'll give you hints on these two. Pascal triangle is over here. So let me check this one first, and then I'll give you a hint on that. Pascal triangle 2. What is this? Let's check. So looks same. Achha, you are just asked to print the nth row of Pascal triangle. How is this difficult or different than the previous one? So previous one that we solved, right? So we returned the array list of array list, which was a Pascal triangle. Now just you have to return the nth row of it. Is there any mistake in the test case or something?
No, sir.
No. So it is fine, right? I guess वो मैंने solve भी करके दिया था, right? I remember I have written it over here. So Pascal triangle 2 में जो भी हमने Pascal triangle में solve करा था ना, let me just yeah. So
सर पास्कल ट्रायंगल वन में सर आपने 2D अरे लिस्ट का यूज किया था, ठीक है?
right.
मतलब एक वैल्यू को स्टोर किया था,
So here that's
second
what you need to
ये
do,
क्या
you
था?
know, so you just need to do result dot get length minus 1. So इसमें जो last row होगा ना, that is just you have to return. So here result is basically we are returning 2D array list, right? So you just need to return result dot get result dot जो भी size होगा -1. Done. This is the so
हाँ सर, वो सर पहले दिन ही आपने बता दिया था सर, लेकिन आपने कहा था कि सर
there is a way to get this
हाँ वो
without
हाँ
this.
yes सर,
Uh,
वो आप
ठीक है, चलो I'll discuss this tomorrow, ठीक है, with the entire session. ठीक है, so I guess ये हो जाएगा using a single one dimensional array. See, what the point is here, 2D array list is like we just need the last row, right? So see, one observation that we can make over here is while computation of any row in the Pascal triangle, right, we just need the previous row. You don't need the previous all those rows. You don't need n square space. If you just know the previous row, you can calculate the new row value. Right? You don't need all the previous rows. You just need one array that is storing the previous row. So you can calculate the new row using the previous row. So you and you can at the end you calculate after calculating the new row, you can just store this row as the previous row. Okay. So that's what you need to do. So that will reduce your space complexity from n square to order n. Okay. Time wise it is going to remain same, but space wise it is going to decrease from n square to 2n, which is like order n. Okay. So I'll discuss this. This thing, I'll discuss it tomorrow with the entire batch. Like I'll try to think of this, not a very big problem. Dekho, what you need to you got some idea. Here, instead of creating this, create a one-dimensional array list. Now, when you're doing this, internally we are creating one new array list. We are calculating using the previous one. So use it. Now, at the end, instead of pushing this into the result, you just override the result with this temporary array list that we created. You can result equals to temp. So next iteration result is again going to be pointing to a new array list. चलो नहीं पता चला, चलो. Let me show this. Let's go like that. I guess this is the. Let me copy it. Let me paste it over here. Okay. Okay. So this is t dot add. This is entire logic is there. So let's say system dot out dot println result. Okay. Let me print the result. Let me try to run this. So इसको solve कर लेते हैं, छोटू सा problem है. What are n? What is n? Let's take n as 5. Okay. 5 rows. Yeah. See, so this is the array list that you are seeing, right? This is a two-dimensional array list. What I told, the result is not going to be two-dimensional. Result is going to be one-dimensional, right? So remove this thing, right? Store the result as one-dimensional array list. Now, how can we store the result as one-dimensional array list? So store it just 1D. So your final the number of values in this is going to be n. Okay, like or take it as flexible. Don't even take it as n. Now what we can do over here is, see, instead of doing result dot add, just do result is equal to 10. Done. Now run this. Result dot add.
So without using this, we can store the values of nth row into the using for loop in temporary array list, creating temporary array list. One more.
Temporary array list. So I don't get that part.
So we can create temporary array list and then store the value of res dot get n-1 into it.
Yes. So that's what we are doing, right? So your temporary array list is creating C. So now this is like storing this the last row. See what we did, what are the change that I did, right? Just look at here. So see, earlier we were using a two-dimensional array list. Every time we are creating a new thing that we are pushing into this, we are adding into this a two-dimensional array list. Now instead of pushing this into this array list, what I did was I created that array list. I pointed result is equal to t. The new array list that we created, we just pointed result to that. Now this loop, inside this loop, what we are doing is we are adding. Okay, so we are doing temp dot add one. So we created this temp, right? Like similar to how we were running the logic. So result is having the previous row. So we are getting result of j minus 1 plus j. We are getting the new value. Now at the end, we form this temporary list. जब ये temporary list form हो जाएगा, which is pointing, which is the new row of the array list, right? The new row of the Pascal's triangle. So what I want is I want to store this new row in the result. So ऐसे सोचो. So let's say result was initially just storing 1. Okay, result was just initially storing a 1. Then I found out the new result, which is temp, and I got it as 1 1. So I told, okay, override this result with 1 1. Okay, result equals to temp. Next iteration, I will find out the new temp, which is 1 2 1. Okay, so I'll say override this with 1 2 1. I'm not adding this, I'm overwriting it. See, result equals to temp, I'm overwriting. Next iteration, this will find out 1 2 3 2 1, I guess, and we will just override it with 1 2 3 2 1. See, so now we are overriding instead of adding it. So this is, we are using order n squares, order n space. So this is order n, this is order n result. So we are having 2n space instead of having n square. Understood? Now clear? Yes, no. So before the next updation, we were adding this result to the thing. Now we are just overriding that result using temp. Okay. Binomial theorem यहाँ पे, हाँ, you can use it, right? So that's fine, right? Binomial theorem use कर सकता है. I guess it is NCR, NPR, NCR वाला follow होता है, right? N or NPR something.
NPR, sir, NPR.
Yeah. So NP0, NP1, NP2, NP3. So that you can do. One NPR calculation is order n. Yes, so that would be same complexity, right? Now you can use that as well. So उसको भी follow कर सकते हो, right? So that also you can use. I guess की same ही complexity आएगा. Same complexity आएगा. I'm just thinking the complexity differ करेगी. So for example, last row you want to find, you will do order n and order n. So n square ही होगा, right? So same n square complexity, same thing. As you add it or you do it in that way, you're going to get the same complexity. So last question, this one hint I'll give you. Say it is as an array of n integers. You want this friend to sort the array in non-decreasing orders. Since it would be too easy problem, it is allows him to use only following operation. So this is a very good question, right? I remember solving this question and literally took me 1 to 2 days when I saw this question first, like when I was practicing this coding. So see, I'll give you some idea on this. See, so here now there are swap operations or you have in arrays. Like for any sorting, you want swap operations to happen, right? But in bubble sort we can swap any two consecutive index. In selection sort we are picking two consecutive index, we are swapping it. Now here what it is telling, that we are allowed to swap, but only if this condition is satisfied. I minus j is greater than x, only this condition is satisfied, then we'll swap. Now there is something that is given over here is we can perform any finite number of operations, or I'll say ki we can perform any number of operations. See, now one thing that you can observe in questions like this, whenever it has told that you can perform any finite numbers of operations, okay, so that gives you a possibility that you can you don't have any constant. You are allowed to perform only k operations. You are allowed to perform only 10 or 5 operations to get this array sorted. You can perform 50, you can perform 100, you can perform any number. So that means, right, what does this any finite number of operations tell to you? That means that you can get possibly a very large number of operations and you can reach the solution. Now, do you need to do those operations? No. In such question, if you try to swap and you try to find out the sorted array and count it, you will never get the solution. Okay. So you can basically look at the array, you can look at the constant x, I, j, and whatever is given, and you have to figure out whether it is possible to do it given the constant or not. You cannot get the solution by swapping it. Okay. because there might be very large number of swaps. There might be 10 to the power 10 swaps that might be required to get this sorted. Now you want to be able to perform that swap, but you can look into the array and tell whether it is possible to swap it or not. Acha, what does this mean? I'll give you one idea. So let's take this array as example. Okay. So there is a lot of swaps that it has performed, and it has given the constant as 2. What does 2 means? That you are allowed to perform the swap if I minus j is equals to 2. So basically 5 can be swapped with 2, 5 can be swapped with 3, 5 can be swapped with 4. Okay. 1 can be swapped with 3, 1 can be swapped with 4, 2 can be swapped with only 4. So these are the possibilities of swaps that you have. Yes. Now basically you have at least one swap operation for every element. Okay. I'll give you one hint over here, and if you get this, you will be able to figure out the solution. If not, you think through this hint for the entire day, and then tomorrow tell me ki sir ye nahi samajh aaya. Explain me. I'll explain this. Okay. But take this day. It took me literally 2 days to figure this out, but this is very interesting thing. Okay. See. So you are given that every element 5 can be swapped with 2, 3, 4. 1 can be swapped with 3, 4. 2 can be swapped with 4. Matlab every element has some possibility of some swap. Now what does this mean? It means that you can bring any element to any position, right? Be it like you want to sort it, that's different case. You can sorting basically you want to put some element in some position, but if you are allowed to swap any element with every element with some other element, you can put it in some other position. How can I say this? So let's try to put tell me one scenario where you want to put, like, tell you can we put 3 in place of 5? Yes, just swap 3 and 5. Can we put 2 in place of 1? We cannot put directly swap 2 and 1, but we can put 2 in place of 1. How? Just check. So swap 2 with 4. So you can get 4, 3, 2. Swap now this place can be swapped with 1. So 2 can be put over here. Yes. So you can put 2 in any place. Try to think of any place that you can want to put 2. You will be able to put 2. Think of any place you want to put 1, you will be able to put 1. Think of any place you want to put 5, you will be able to put 5. Okay. Getting it? You basically can put any of this in any other case. Does it going to hold true in all the situations? That means we are just going to get yes, no. See a scenario like this. 1, 3, 1, 2, 8, 4. Okay, this is the array. And let's say the difference is, let's say 3. See. So you are allowed to swap this. So difference is 3. So you are allowed to swap it this one. You are allowed to swap it with this. You are allowed to swap it with this. Let's take it as 5. Okay, so you are allowed to swap this with 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you are allowed to swap this with 8. You are allowed to swap this with 4. You are allowed to swap this with sorry. You are just allowed to swap this with 4. So let's take it as 9. So you're just allowed to swap this with 9. Now here in this particular example, you cannot put 3 in any place. You cannot even swap 3 with anything. So you cannot put 3 in the place you want. You cannot swap 1 in the place you want. You cannot swap 2 in. You cannot put 2 in the place you want. Can you do that? No. So there are elements that you cannot put in the places that you want. Right? You cannot put it in any place that you want. In this situation, if I tell you that delta is 4, so you can swap this with 2. You can swap this with now with 8. So increases possibility, but now still you cannot put so 4, right? So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 can now be swapped with 9. 4 cannot be swapped. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So 1 cannot be swapped. Now every other element can be put in any position, but 1 cannot be. Check for 1. So 1 cannot be put into any other possible. Someone guessed, right? Okay, Vishnu, you are very you almost got it. Okay. So now think when you will get such elements which you cannot put. If you have a scenario when you can put any elements into any position you want, you got so you can sort it. Whatever number of operation it takes, 10, 50, 100, 20, 10,000 operations, you will be able to swap it. Okay. If you are allowed to put any element into any other position. Okay. After some combination of operations, you will be able to put all the elements in such a fashion that it is sorted. Okay. If you are not allowed to swap any element, right, that means you cannot move this element. So, acha. if you cannot move one element, can you get a sorted result? If you cannot move an element, in what situation the array will be sorted? If you can move all the elements, your array is sorted. Okay. So there are two situations. You can move all elements. You can move all elements, so you can sort the array. Now figure out what's the mathematical way to figure out whether you can move all the elements. And you cannot move all. You cannot move all. So in this situation, like, can you say you cannot sort it? Actually, you cannot say you cannot sort it. You can still sort it. Now, when you can sort it, that you figure out. Okay. अब इतना सा काम करो. I gave you almost everything. Yes, you got it. You got it correct. Okay. If it is already in Vishnu, you also got the correct one. Okay. If it is already in the sorted place, then it is sorted. If it is not in the sorted place, then it is not sorted. Okay. Now write the logic. I gave you the entire thing. Write the code. Non-movable is in the sorted place, then it's correct. If non-movable is not in the sorted place, then it cannot be sorted. You cannot move those elements, they are not in the correct place. How can you sort it? Can you explain why can't so 3 can be moved, 1 cannot be moved. If the value of is 4, right? I minus j, your x is given as 4. Right? If your x that you are given is 4, so you cannot move 1. See 4, so you take this index and you cannot find any other index with whom you can find out I minus j, and the difference will be like greater than or equals to x. You cannot do that. Okay. See, this is one question which is a very, very good example to show you that if you ever get hints like this, any finite number of operations, never try to perform those finite number of operations. Okay, that the result does not lie there. You probably might not end up with the result as well. You might end up with the time limit exceed or something like that. Okay, because getting that result might be 10 to the power 10 or 10 to the power 20 or 10 to the power 30 operations, and you can't run those operations, right? So you can possibly figure out without doing those operations whether you can get that result or whether you cannot. Okay. Now think through this. I gave you all the hints that you need. This is an interesting problem. Take time. That's fine. All you have is time. All we have is time. Sum is greater than k. So that's a modification of cadence. That is a modification of cadence. Count of subarrays with sum greater than k. So sub cadence may be check whether it is equal, right? How will you check for greater? Try to modify the cadence a little bit. Think through this cadence ko thoda sa modify karo. Okay. Chalo. Okay, everyone. We have covered all the concepts. String builder, buffer reader. I don't think there is a very big.
Just share the link, sir.
I'll share the link. All the remaining questions that are there, we'll continue discussing them. We'll go through them. Don't worry. Right. We'll do revisions as well. I guess string questions are still remaining, right? So we'll solve them. Array list is now complete. So string is remaining. Just string builder, buffer reader will try to use string questions more. So that we get used to it. Tomorrow we'll use entire string questions to solve. Okay, and this is one that I'll discuss. Here sorting me, right? So this is a part of sorting. Okay, sorting me, I guess 1-2 questions are there, which is good ones we'll discuss. Okay. So thank you everyone. See you all tomorrow. Good night. Bye bye. Take care.